Have you ever wondered why some people achieve extraordinary success while others, with the same knowledge and opportunities, never seem to break free from struggle? What truly makes the difference between those who build wealth, influence, and purpose, and those who remain stuck? This question isn't just about money or fame. It's about the hidden principles that shape every achievement in life. The truth is, success doesn't happen by chance. It follows certain laws, patterns, and mindsets that anyone can learn, if they're willing to open their mind and apply them. In this audiobook, we'll explore those very ideas. You'll discover how powerful thoughts, beliefs, and choices can completely transform your future. More than just theory, these are lessons tested by time, practical insights that can turn ambition into achievement. So, are you ready to challenge the way you think and unlock the tools that can guide you toward success? Let's begin.
Think and Grow Rich, Chapter 1, Desire. Every great achievement in history begins with one simple thing, a desire. Not a passing wish, not a vague dream, but a burning desire that refuses to be ignored. Napoleon Hill begins this book with a clear message. Desire is the starting point of all riches. Without it, nothing great is ever achieved. With it, ordinary people have transformed themselves into extraordinary leaders, creators, and builders of wealth. To understand this principle, Hill tells us the story of a man named Edwin C. Barnes. At first glance, Barnes was an ordinary person. He wasn't rich, he had no influential family, and he didn't have any special advantages. What he did have was a vision. Barnes had a strong, definite desire. He wanted to work with the great inventor, Thomas Edison. Notice something important here. Barnes didn't say he wanted to work for Edison, like an employee. He said he wanted to work with Edison as a business partner. That was his dream. Most people would laugh at such a thought. After all, how could a poor, unknown man walk into the life of one of the most famous inventors in the world and become his partner? But that's the power of a burning desire. It makes the impossible seem possible. It fuels action. It gives courage where fear would normally take over. When Barnes first made up his mind, he had nothing. He didn't even have the money for a train ticket to New Jersey, where Edison's laboratory was. But he didn't let that stop him. He boarded a freight train, riding illegally, just to get to Edison's office. Think about that level of determination. No money, no connections, just a desire so strong it pushed him to take risks most people would never consider. When he finally arrived, Barnes stood before Edison and declared that he had come to be his business partner. Edison later described him as looking like a tramp. His clothes were shabby and he had no appearance of success. But Edison saw something in his eyes, an intensity, a determination that told him this young man wasn't joking. Edison gave him a chance, not as a partner, but as a low-level worker in his offices. Now, here's where most people fail. They dream big, but when reality gives them a small opportunity, they get discouraged. They quit. Barnes didn't quit. He took the humble job, but in his mind, he never let go of his true goal. He kept telling himself, I will be a partner of Edison. I will not settle for anything less.
For months, Barnes worked, doing tasks that seemed insignificant, but he never complained. He stayed focused. He carried with him the certainty that one day his opportunity would arrive, and eventually it did. One day, Edison developed a new invention, a machine called the Edison dictating machine, an early version of the dictaphone. Edison's sales team didn't believe in the product. They thought it would fail in the market. But Barnes saw an opportunity. He believed in the invention, and he proposed to Edison that he would sell it across the country. Edison agreed. Barnes threw himself into the work, and soon he was selling the machine successfully. That single opportunity became the turning point. Barnes eventually did become Edison's partner in business. He achieved his dream, not because he was the smartest or the most skilled, but because he had a definite desire and refused to give up until it became reality. Hill puts it bluntly, a burning desire, backed by faith and persistence, becomes the starting point of all riches. Pause here for a moment and ask yourself, what is your burning desire? Not a wish, not a vague dream, but something you want so strongly that you're willing to sacrifice, fight, and persist for it? If you don't have such a desire, you will likely never achieve great success. But if you do, then you already hold the seed of greatness within you. Barnes' story is proof of this principle. He started with nothing but a vision, and that vision, combined with determination, opened the door to riches. Now, Hill emphasizes something important here. You don't need to know exactly how you'll achieve your dream when you start. Barnes didn't know how he would convince Edison. He didn't have a step-by-step plan. He only had the burning desire to make it real. That desire guided his actions, and the opportunities appeared along the way. Many people wait for perfect conditions. They say things like, "I'll start when I have more money, when I have more time, when I have more knowledge." But those who achieve greatness rarely wait. They begin with desire, and the details work themselves out later. Barnes' story shows us something simple yet profound. There's a world of difference between wishing for something and truly desiring it. Most people spend their lives wishing. They wish they had more money. They wish they had a better job. They wish they could start a business, travel the world, or achieve financial freedom. But here's the truth. Wishing rarely leads to results. Wishes are weak. They're like clouds drifting in the sky, pretty to look at, but with no real substance. On the other hand, desire, true, burning desire, is powerful. It lights a fire in your spirit. It makes you restless. It won't let you sleep peacefully until you do something about it. When you truly desire something, it becomes a dominant obsession in your mind. Every decision, every thought, every action starts moving in the direction of that goal. Napoleon Hill reminds us, every person who has ever risen from poverty to wealth, from mediocrity to greatness, did so because they had a clear, definite desire, not because of luck, not because of chance, but because they knew what they wanted and refused to stop until it was theirs. Think about the difference. A wish says, "I'd like to be rich someday." A desire says, "I will become rich, and here is exactly how much money I want by this date, and I will do whatever it takes to achieve it." See the difference? One is vague, the other is specific and powerful. The story of Marshall Field. Hill gives another powerful example through the story of Marshall Field, the great Chicago merchant. During the Chicago fire of 1871, the city was destroyed. Chaos and fear spread everywhere. Many business owners gave up, deciding to leave the city for good, but not Marshall Field. In the middle of all that destruction, he made a bold decision. He said, "I will rebuild. I will make this city greater than before. I will build the largest store the world has ever seen." That was not a wish. That was desire. And because of that burning desire, he rebuilt his business and created a retail empire that lives on to this day. This shows us that desire is not just about money, it's about mindset. Two people can face the same disaster. One gives up, the other rises higher. The difference lies in whether they have a weak wish or a burning desire. The power of desire overcomes defeat. Here's another truth Hill emphasizes. People who succeed don't necessarily avoid failure. In fact, they often fail more than others. The difference is that they don't accept failure as permanent. They see it as a temporary defeat, a lesson, a stepping stone towards success.
When Barnes worked for Edison, months went by before his chance arrived. Many would have quit, thinking, it's useless, I'll never get what I want. But Barnes stayed, holding on to his vision. That persistence, fueled by desire, is what eventually led him to his opportunity.
If you have a burning desire, failure cannot stop you permanently. Obstacles may delay you, yes, but they cannot defeat you. A weak wish will be crushed by the first obstacle, but a burning desire will find a way around it, over it, or through it. Why most people fail to get rich. Hill makes a very direct point here. He says the number one reason most people fail to become wealthy is this: they lack a definite desire. They may want riches, but they're not willing to stake everything on that goal. They're not willing to focus their mind and energy on it with intensity. Most people drift. They live without a definite purpose. They let circumstances decide their future. They wait for luck, for opportunity, for someone else to help them. But riches don't come to drifters. They come to those who have a clear desire, a plan, and persistence. This is why Hill insists, before you can become rich, you must decide exactly what you want. You must choose your goal with clarity and certainty. The 6 steps to turn desire into riches. To make this practical, Hill gives us 6 concrete steps that anyone can follow to turn desire into financial success. These steps are simple, but they are powerful if you truly apply them. Decide the exact amount of money you desire. Don't just say, I want to be rich. That's too vague. Decide exactly how much money you want. Be specific. The mind responds to clarity, not uncertainty. Determine exactly what you intend to give in return. There is no such thing as something for nothing. If you want wealth, you must decide what value you will provide in exchange. It might be your skills, your service, your ideas, your effort, but you must give something before you can receive. Establish a definite date when you intend to possess the money. A goal without a deadline is just a dream. Set a timeline. Your mind needs a target to aim at. Create a definite plan for carrying out your desire and begin at once. Don't wait until everything is perfect. Don't wait for the right time. Begin immediately, even if your plan is not yet complete. Write out a clear, concise statement of the amount of money you intend to acquire, the time limit for its acquisition, what you intend to give in return, and the plan through which you intend to accumulate it. Putting your desire into writing makes it real. It's no longer just a thought. It becomes a commitment. Read your written statement aloud twice daily, once just before going to bed at night and once after rising in the morning. As you read, see and feel yourself already in possession of the money. Imagine it as if it were already real. This constant repetition plants the desire deep into your subconscious mind, where it can grow and influence your actions. These 6 steps are not just theory, they are practical instructions. If you take them seriously and practice them daily, you will begin to notice a change. Your thoughts will grow sharper. Your focus will become stronger. Opportunities that once seemed invisible will begin to appear. Think about this. How many people do you know who have actually written down a specific goal for wealth with a plan and a deadline and read it every day with belief? Probably very few. And that's why very few achieve riches. Success is not for the majority. It is for those willing to take definite steps that most people ignore.
At this point, Napoleon Hill has made it clear. Desire is the starting point of all achievement. But desire alone is not enough. Desire must be transformed into faith and then into action. Desire must become belief. You can want something all you like, but if you secretly doubt you can achieve it, you will never attract it. That's why Hill stresses the importance of belief. You must not only want riches, you must believe deep in your heart that you can and will achieve them. Barnes believed. When he first stood in Edison's office, he looked nothing like a business partner. Yet in his mind, he already saw himself as one. That belief gave him the courage to persist, to work hard, and to wait for his opportunity. When you repeat your written statement aloud every day, as Hill instructed in the 6 steps, you are not just reminding yourself of your goal, you are training your subconscious mind to believe it. And once your subconscious accepts it as truth, it will guide your thoughts and actions toward making it real. This is why so many people fail. They wish for riches, but deep down believe it is impossible for them. Their doubt cancels out their desire. Remember this, faith is the bridge between desire and reality. Without faith, desire dies. With faith, desire comes alive. Examples of desire turned into riches. History is full of stories of people who turned burning desires into reality. Hill reminds us of one powerful example, Henry Ford. Ford had little formal education. He wasn't born wealthy, yet he had a burning desire to create an affordable automobile for the masses. People laughed at him. Experts said it was impossible. Even his own engineers told him certain designs could not be built. But Ford's desire was unshakable. He kept demanding results until eventually his team discovered what they said could not be done. That's the power of desire combined with persistence. Desire doesn't listen to impossible. It pushes forward until impossible becomes possible. Think also of people like Andrew Carnegie, who rose from working as a poor immigrant in a factory to becoming one of the richest men of his time. Or modern entrepreneurs who start with little but hold on to their vision until it materializes. The pattern is always the same. It begins with a burning desire backed by belief and relentless effort. Temporary defeat versus permanent failure. Hill makes another vital point. Many people quit at the first sign of defeat. They treat temporary setbacks as permanent failure. But those who succeed see defeat differently. They see it as feedback, as a lesson, as a sign to adjust their plan and try again. Barnes could have given up after months of doing small tasks in Edison's office, but he didn't. Marshall Field could have abandoned Chicago after the fire destroyed everything, but he didn't. Henry Ford could have quit when engineers told him his ideas were impossible, but he didn't. The difference between those who succeed and those who fail is simple. Successful people refuse to quit when faced with temporary defeat. They let their burning desire carry them forward. Planting the seed in your subconscious mind. Here's something very practical Hill emphasizes. When you read your goal statement aloud every day with emotion and belief, you are planting a seed in your subconscious mind. Over time, that seed grows into a powerful force.
Your subconscious begins to notice opportunities it ignored before. It begins to inspire ideas and solutions. It begins to push you into action. In short, your subconscious mind becomes your partner in achieving riches. This is why Hill tells you not just to write down your desire, but to imagine yourself already in possession of it. See it, feel it, believe it, speak it with emotion. This is not wishful thinking. It is programming your mind for success. Desire is the first step in the riches formula. So, let's recap. Desire is the starting point of all achievement. It must be definite, not vague. It must be backed by faith and persistence. It must be turned into action through a definite plan. It must be impressed upon the subconscious mind through repetition and belief. Without desire, nothing begins. With desire, anything is possible. Hill's words are clear. The starting point of all achievement is desire. Keep this constantly in mind. Weak desire brings weak results, just as a small fire makes a small amount of heat. If you want great success, you must build a great fire of desire within you. A challenge to the reader or listener. Now let's turn this from theory into practice. I challenge you right now to pause and answer these questions honestly. How much money do you truly desire? Write down a specific figure. By what date do you intend to have this money? What are you willing to give in return for it? What is your plan to achieve it? Even if it's incomplete, start writing it down. Have you written this desire in a clear statement? Will you read the statement aloud twice daily with emotion and imagine yourself already in possession of the money? If you're serious about success, don't just listen to this chapter. Apply it, write it, read it, feel it, live it. Because here's the truth. Riches don't come to those who merely hope for them. They come to those who demand them. They come to those who set a definite goal, back it with desire, and refuse to quit until they have achieved it. As we close Chapter 1, remember the story of Edwin C. Barnes. He began with nothing but a vision and a burning desire. No money, no connections, no clear plan, just the determination that he would one day work with Thomas Edison. That desire guided him, sustained him, and eventually rewarded him. Barnes could have quit. He could have accepted a life of mediocrity, but he chose desire, and that choice changed his destiny. What about you? What burning desire will you choose? What vision will you hold on to, even when circumstances seem against you? What riches, whether in money, achievement, or impact, will you refuse to stop chasing until they are yours? This is not just a book. It's a challenge, a test, a call to action. And Chapter 1 is the beginning of that journey. Riches, success, achievement, all of it begins right here with one word: desire.
Chapter 2. Faith in Your Ability. Faith is the foundation of all great achievements. It is the invisible force that turns ideas into reality. Without faith, desire remains only a dream. But with faith, desire transforms into action, persistence, and ultimately success. Napoleon Hill calls faith the eternal elixir that gives life, power, and action to the impulse of thought. When you believe in your ability, when you have faith in yourself and in your vision, you activate one of the greatest powers known to humanity. Faith is not something that comes automatically. It is developed through practice, repetition, and conscious effort. Just as muscles grow stronger with exercise, faith grows stronger when it is reinforced daily by affirmations, visualization, and persistent belief. This chapter is not about blind faith. It is about a conscious decision to trust your own potential, to believe in the possibilities before they become visible, and to act as if your success is already certain. Every great fortune, every remarkable achievement, and every step forward in human progress has been powered by someone's faith. The power of belief. Think of faith as the bridge between desire and accomplishment. Desire alone is not enough. Many people want wealth, success, or happiness, but without faith, their desire weakens at the first obstacle. Faith transforms that desire into a burning certainty. It removes doubt, fear, and hesitation. When Thomas Edison was experimenting with the electric light bulb, he failed thousands of times. Imagine if he had doubted himself after the first 100 failures. It was his unshakable faith in his ability and in the correctness of his vision that pushed him to continue until success came. The Wright brothers had faith in the idea of human flight when the rest of the world called it impossible. Henry Ford had faith in the possibility of an affordable automobile when even his own engineers told him it couldn't be done. Every single success story begins with someone who refused to let go of faith in themselves. Faith as a state of mind. Faith is not something you can buy, inherit, or stumble upon by accident. It is a state of mind you must cultivate. Napoleon Hill explains that the subconscious mind plays a central role in this process. The subconscious responds to the thoughts we feed it, especially those that are repeated with emotion. If you constantly tell yourself, "I can't," your subconscious accepts it as truth. If you repeat, "I will succeed," "I will find the way," "I am capable," your subconscious also accepts it as truth. This is why self-suggestion, or what Hill calls autosuggestion, is so powerful. By planting seeds of faith in your mind, you create conditions for success. Faith is self-created. It grows from repetition of positive thoughts, visualization of success, and the refusal to give attention to fear. Fear is faith's greatest enemy. Fear is the destroyer of faith. Most people fail not because they lack talent or opportunity, but because they allow fear to overpower faith. Fear of poverty, fear of criticism, fear of failure, fear of loss, fear of illness, and fear of death. These 6 fears rule many lives.
When you let fear dominate your thoughts, you paralyze action. You hesitate, you doubt, you procrastinate. Fear convinces you that you're not ready, not good enough, not worthy. But faith dissolves fear. The two cannot exist in the mind at the same time. One always drives out the other. Building faith, then, is about consciously replacing fear-filled thoughts with thoughts of courage, confidence, and certainty. How to develop faith in yourself? Faith grows by practice. Here are the steps Hill emphasizes. Autosuggestion, or self-suggestion. Repeat affirmations that confirm your belief in yourself and your ability to succeed. Words influence thought, and repeated thoughts influence belief. Visualization. Picture your success clearly. See yourself already in possession of the goal. The mind cannot distinguish between imagined experience and real experience if both are charged with emotion. Repetition with emotion. Cold, mechanical affirmations are not enough. You must feel the belief as you say it. Emotion supercharges the subconscious mind. Persistence. Faith is not built in one day. Just as habits form over time, faith develops through consistent practice. Guarding the mind. Refuse to allow negative influences to dominate your thoughts. Avoid constant criticism, fear-mongering, and pessimism. Surround yourself with positivity. By following these steps, you reprogram your subconscious mind to expect success instead of failure. Example: the salesman who believed. Hill tells the story of a struggling salesman who could not close deals. He decided to try affirmations. Every morning and evening, he repeated with conviction, "I am successful. I close sales easily. Customers trust me." At first, he didn't believe the words, but he persisted. Within weeks, his confidence grew. Within months, his sales skyrocketed. What changed? His belief. When he began to act with certainty, customers responded to that confidence. Faith once planted bore fruit in reality. Faith and wealth. When it comes to money and wealth, faith plays the same role. If you believe you will never be rich, your subconscious mind makes that your reality. You sabotage opportunities, you avoid risks, and you settle for less.
But if you believe wealth is possible for you, if you see yourself as someone worthy and capable of financial success, your subconscious aligns your thoughts and actions to make it real. This is why affirmations about money are powerful when combined with definite desire and a clear plan. Say to yourself, "Money flows to me in abundance. I am capable of creating wealth. Opportunities come to me because I am prepared." These are not empty words. They are tools to build faith until your subconscious accepts wealth as your natural condition.
The role of autosuggestion in building faith. Autosuggestion is one of the most practical tools for developing faith. The word may sound complex, but the idea is simple. It is the act of feeding your subconscious mind with repeated instructions. Whatever thoughts are impressed upon the subconscious, especially when mixed with emotion, will eventually influence your actions and reality. Think of the subconscious mind as fertile soil. Whatever seeds you plant there, positive or negative, will grow. If you constantly plant seeds of doubt, fear, and limitation, you will harvest failure and frustration. But if you plant seeds of confidence, courage, and success, you will reap achievement. Autosuggestion is the method of deliberately choosing the seeds you plant. It's a way of telling your subconscious over and over again what you want it to believe until it accepts it as truth. How autosuggestion works. When you say to yourself, "I am strong, I am capable, I will succeed," you may not believe it at first, but with daily repetition, the words begin to sink in. When combined with emotion, when you say these words with genuine feeling, they become powerful commands to your subconscious. The subconscious mind doesn't argue. It doesn't question whether something is possible or not. It simply accepts repeated suggestions and begins to act on them. This is why negative self-talk is so destructive. If you tell yourself, "I'll never succeed, I don't have what it takes," your subconscious mind accepts it, and you behave in ways that confirm that belief. But the reverse is also true. By filling your mind with thoughts of success, you gradually train yourself to think, feel, and act like a successful person. This is the foundation of faith. Visualization as a partner to faith. Words alone are not enough. The imagination must be engaged. When you visualize your goal vividly, when you see yourself living in the house you dream of, enjoying the financial freedom you seek, or standing confidently in your career, you strengthen your faith. Visualization turns abstract belief into a mental reality. The mind does not distinguish clearly between imagined experiences and real experiences, especially when those imagined experiences are infused with emotion. This is why athletes mentally rehearse their performance before stepping onto the field. By the time they play, their subconscious already accepts victory as familiar. In the same way, if you want wealth, don't just say affirmations. See yourself already possessing it. Feel the satisfaction, the freedom, the opportunities it provides. Let that emotional vision sink deep into your subconscious. Over time, your faith in your ability to achieve it will grow naturally. The science behind faith and suggestion.
Modern psychology and neuroscience support Napoleon Hill's insights. The brain has something called the reticular activating system, or RAS. It filters information and focuses on what aligns with your dominant thoughts. If you constantly think about success and opportunity, your RAS will notice opportunities that were always there but previously ignored. This explains why faith feels like a magnet. Once you truly believe in your goal, you begin to notice ideas, people, and possibilities that help you achieve it. They were not invisible before. You simply weren't tuned to them. Faith sharpens your focus and directs your energy. Fear versus faith in daily life. Imagine two people starting the same business. One says, "I hope this works, but I'm not sure." The other says, "I know this will work. I will find the way no matter what happens." Both face the same challenges, but who is more likely to succeed? The second person, because faith fuels persistence. Faith doesn't remove obstacles, but it makes you resilient. It gives you the courage to keep going when results are not immediate. Without faith, small difficulties feel like impossible mountains. With faith, mountains shrink into manageable steps. Hill warns us that fear is the biggest thief of success. Fear paralyzes decision-making, drains confidence, and keeps people trapped in hesitation. The only antidote is faith. Faith built deliberately through repetition of belief and conscious rejection of doubt. Example: the young inventor. Consider the story of a young inventor who believed he could design a new type of machine that would change his industry. His friends laughed. Experts told him it was impossible. He lacked money, resources, and influence. But he had faith. Every day, he visualized his machine completed and working. He repeated to himself, "I am capable. My invention will succeed." He studied relentlessly, worked late nights, and never let go of his vision. Years later, his invention was not only completed, but became the foundation of a successful company. His friends were amazed. What was the difference? Not just intelligence or hard work. Many people had that. What separated him was faith. He refused to accept defeat as permanent. Faith and action. It is important to remember that faith is not passive. Faith is not about sitting still and hoping for miracles. Real faith expresses itself through action. When you truly believe in something, you naturally act in alignment with that belief. Faith in your ability doesn't mean you will never fail. It means you refuse to give up when you fail. It means you see setbacks as temporary and lessons as stepping stones. With faith, each failure becomes feedback, guiding you toward the next attempt. As Napoleon Hill says, faith is the only known antidote for failure.
The formula for developing faith. Napoleon Hill gives us a very practical formula for building faith. Faith isn't something you're born with. It's something you create by choice and nurture through practice. The formula has 3 key elements: affirmation of desire, state clearly and repeatedly what you want to achieve. Instead of vague wishes, create a definite goal. For example, I will earn $100,000 a year through my business within the next 3 years. A clear, definite goal gives your mind direction. Autosuggestion with emotion. Repeat your goal daily with feeling. Simply saying words without emotion won't move your subconscious. But when you say them with conviction, when you picture yourself already living the reality, they begin to influence your belief system. And visualization and action. Imagine yourself already in possession of the goal and then act consistently as though success is certain. Visualization creates the inner belief. Action makes it real in the external world. Faith grows stronger each time these 3 elements are practiced together. Writing and repeating affirmations. Hill suggests writing down your definite goal, reading it aloud twice daily, once before bed and once upon waking, and committing it to memory. Why those times? Because your subconscious mind is most receptive during the moments when you are drifting to sleep and when you are just waking up. For example, you might write, "By December 31st, 3 years from now, I will have in my possession $100,000. This money will come to me in various amounts from my business, which I will operate with honesty and efficiency. I believe I will have this money. My faith is so strong that I can already see it before my eyes. I am awaiting a plan by which to accumulate this money, and I will follow that plan when it appears." When repeated daily with conviction, such affirmations plant seeds of belief deep into your subconscious mind. Why affirmations work? To someone skeptical, affirmations may seem like wishful thinking,
But Hill explains that affirmations work because they influence your thought habits, and thought habits shape actions. For instance, if you repeat, "I'm confident and capable," your mind begins to accept it. Over time, you will start to walk, talk, and act with greater confidence. People around you will notice, and opportunities will come your way. On the other hand, repeating negative affirmations like, "I'm unlucky, I can't do this, I'll probably fail," will also work, but in the wrong direction. Your subconscious will believe those words and shape your actions to match. That's why faith is not just a vague spiritual idea. It is a practical tool that influences behavior. Leaders and faith. History is filled with leaders who used faith to achieve what seemed impossible. Consider Mahatma Gandhi. He had no army, no wealth, and no formal power. Yet his faith in the principle of nonviolent resistance inspired millions and led to the independence of India. His belief was so strong that others adopted it as their own.
Or think of Abraham Lincoln. He faced repeated failures in business, politics, and personal life. He lost elections multiple times before finally becoming president. What carried him through? Faith in his mission and belief in his ability to overcome obstacles. Every great movement, whether in politics, science, or business, was fueled by someone's faith. Faith is contagious. When one person holds an unshakable belief, others are drawn to it and begin to share in that vision. The connection between faith and desire. Desire is the starting point of achievement, but desire alone is not enough. Many people desire wealth, freedom, or success, but their desires are weak and easily defeated by obstacles. Faith is what transforms desire into burning determination. When desire is backed by faith, it becomes powerful enough to push you through setbacks, rejections, and temporary defeats. For example, two people may both want to start a business. One desires it, but doubts creep in. What if I fail? What if I lose money? Maybe I should wait until conditions are perfect. He hesitates and often gives up before even starting. The other person also desires it, but he has faith. I know I will succeed. Even if I stumble, I'll find another way. This is possible for me. His faith transforms his desire into persistence, and persistence eventually brings success. Faith is the fuel that keeps desire burning until it becomes reality. The subconscious mind as the gateway. Hill emphasizes that your subconscious mind is like a fertile field. It does not question or judge, it simply grows whatever is planted. If you plant thoughts of success, confidence, and wealth, your subconscious will nurture those seeds. If you plant thoughts of failure, fear, and poverty, it will nurture those instead. The choice is always yours. This is why it is so important to be mindful of the influences around you. Constant exposure to negative people, criticism, or discouraging words can poison your subconscious mind. On the other hand, surrounding yourself with encouragement, uplifting ideas, and affirmations strengthens your faith. The subconscious cannot remain neutral. It will grow whatever you feed it. Faith is built by consciously feeding it positive thoughts every day. Example: the entrepreneur who refused to quit. Hill tells of a young man who dreamed of owning a chain of restaurants. At first, he had only one small location, and it struggled. Many advised him to close down. But he had faith in his vision. Every night, he repeated his affirmations and visualized his restaurants filled with happy customers. When problems arose, he reminded himself, "This is temporary. I am building something great." It wasn't easy. There were years of slow growth and financial challenges,
But he kept going, driven by faith. Eventually, his restaurants expanded into multiple locations, creating the chain he had envisioned. The lesson is simple. His success wasn't the result of luck. It was the result of faith that refused to die, even when circumstances looked bleak.
Chapter 3. Autosuggestion, the power of influencing your own mind. Planting seeds in the subconscious. Every human being carries within them a silent partner, a part of the mind that never sleeps, never forgets, and never stops recording. This is the subconscious mind. It is here that your deepest beliefs are stored, where your repeated thoughts take root, and where your dominant desires are either nurtured into reality or left to vanish into nothingness. The subconscious mind is like fertile soil. It accepts any seed that is planted in it. But the soil does not care whether the seed is one of success or one of failure. It will grow whatever is given. Now imagine this soil being fed every day by words, emotions, and images. The thoughts you repeat to yourself are the seeds. The emotions you feel about them are the water and sunlight. And over time, those seeds take root, grow, and eventually show themselves in your habits, decisions, and results. This, in simple terms, is autosuggestion. It is the conscious effort to plant only the seeds you want to see grow. It is the practice of deliberately feeding your subconscious with affirmations, beliefs, and mental images that match the life you want to live. If you fail to take control of this process, your mind will still be influenced, but instead of being shaped by your deliberate choices, it will be shaped by whatever random influences surround you. Negativity from the news, doubts from others, fears whispered into your ear since childhood. Without control, your subconscious becomes a dumping ground for weeds. Autosuggestion is the method of control. It is the tool by which you direct your subconscious instead of letting it be directed by accident. Why autosuggestion matters. Hill tells us plainly, your subconscious mind works day and night to translate your dominant thoughts into physical reality. Whether those thoughts are positive or negative does not matter. The subconscious simply obeys. If you constantly say to yourself, I can't succeed, money is hard to get, or I'm unlucky, the subconscious accepts these as commands. It begins shaping your behavior in ways that confirm them. You overlook opportunities. You hesitate instead of acting. You gravitate toward failure, not because you are doomed to fail, but because your subconscious has been told to expect it. On the other hand, when you feed your subconscious with strong, positive affirmations, backed by faith and desire, it accepts those too. It begins to align your behavior with those beliefs. You notice opportunities others ignore. You act with confidence. You persist when difficulties come. Eventually, your reality matches your dominant belief. Autosuggestion, therefore, is not optional. Whether you realize it or not, you are practicing it every day. The only question is whether you are practicing it consciously in your favor or unconsciously against yourself. The subconscious as the silent worker. Think of the subconscious as a worker that never questions instructions. It never sleeps, it never complains, and it never argues. Whatever the conscious mind feeds it, it accepts as truth. Then it goes about arranging the details of your life to make that truth visible.
This is why we often hear the phrase, you become what you think about most of the time. Because those repeated thoughts, whether spoken aloud or kept silently inside, are the exact instructions given to the subconscious. Autosuggestion is the means by which we write the instructions clearly, positively, and repeatedly. It is how we ensure the subconscious is working for us, not against us.
desire alone is not enough. In Chapter 2, Hill stressed the importance of desire. Every achievement begins with a burning want, but desire alone cannot transform itself into reality. It must be planted, nurtured, and translated into belief. Autosuggestion is the mechanism by which desire is carried across the bridge from the conscious mind to the subconscious mind. Without this bridge, desire remains only a wish. With it, desire becomes faith, and faith becomes action. This is why autosuggestion is called the medium of influence between the conscious and subconscious mind. An everyday example. Let's use a simple example. Imagine someone says to themselves every morning, "I am terrible at public speaking." Each time they repeat it, the subconscious records it as fact. When the moment comes to stand in front of an audience, the subconscious delivers the expected result: nervousness, shaking hands, a quivering voice. Now imagine the same person deliberately practicing autosuggestion. Every morning and evening, they repeat, "I speak confidently and clearly. I enjoy expressing my ideas. People respond positively to me." At first, it may feel false. The conscious mind may argue, "That's not true." But with daily repetition accompanied by emotion and visualization, the subconscious begins to accept it. Soon, the person feels calmer in front of a crowd. Their confidence grows, and over time, the reality matches the repeated belief. This is the practical power of autosuggestion. It transforms repeated statements into lived experiences. A word of warning. Autosuggestion is powerful but neutral. It will work for you or against you, depending on what you feed it. Just as fertile soil will grow both wheat and weeds, your subconscious will grow whatever seeds you provide. So if you constantly dwell on poverty, failure, or fear, you are practicing negative autosuggestion, and the subconscious, being obedient, will deliver results that match those thoughts. That is why guarding your mind is essential. You must choose carefully what thoughts you repeat, what emotions you cultivate, and what images you allow to linger in your imagination. Autosuggestion is not a one-time act. It is a discipline. It is a daily process of feeding the subconscious with only those ideas that support your greatest desire.
The formula for influencing your mind. Now that we understand what autosuggestion is and why it matters, the next step is learning how to use it deliberately. Napoleon Hill doesn't leave us guessing. He gives a very practical formula. Step 1. Define exactly what you want. Autosuggestion only works when the desire is clear and definite. Vague wishes like "I want more money" or "I want success" will not impress the subconscious mind. Why? Because the subconscious mind thrives on precision. Imagine giving instructions to a builder. If you say, "Build me something nice," the builder won't know what to create. But if you hand over a detailed blueprint, the builder can follow it exactly. Your subconscious mind is like that builder. It needs a blueprint, and that blueprint is your clearly written desire. Hill suggests writing your goal in exact terms. For example, by the first day of January, 5 years from now, I will have in my possession $100,000. This money will come to me in various amounts from time to time. In exchange for this money, I will give the best possible service I'm capable of rendering in my chosen field. I will have a clear plan, and I will follow that plan with persistence. Notice how specific this statement is: the amount of money, the date, the method of exchange, and the plan. Nothing is left vague.
Step 2. Decide what you will give in return. This is a crucial part many people overlook. Nothing in life comes for free. You cannot simply demand wealth or success without being willing to give something in exchange. This does not mean sacrificing honesty or values. It means dedicating yourself to some form of service, skill, or contribution. Success comes as a return for value created. So in your written statement, include what you are willing to give. For instance, in return for this wealth, I will dedicate myself to improving people's lives through excellent financial advice. By declaring what you will give, you signal to your subconscious that you are committed, not just wishful. Step 3. Fix a time limit. A dream without a deadline is only a dream. The subconscious responds more powerfully when there is a sense of urgency. If you declare that you will achieve something someday, it will likely never materialize. But if you say, by June 30th, 3 years from now, your mind begins to act with greater seriousness. It starts preparing for that specific moment. The subconscious accepts the time frame and works to align your actions accordingly. Step 4. Create a concise written statement. Once you know what you want, what you will give, and when you will achieve it, write it all into a short, clear statement. This is your personal affirmation of desire. For example, by January 1st, 2030, I will have in my possession $500,000. In return, I will provide outstanding service as a business consultant, helping companies achieve measurable growth. I believe this money will come to me steadily and in increasing amounts. I see it before me, I feel it in my heart, and I know it is mine. This statement becomes the tool you will use every single day to influence your subconscious mind. Step 5. Repeat it twice daily. The written statement is useless unless it is read and spoken with repetition. Hill insists, read it aloud twice each day, once in the morning upon waking and once at night before going to sleep. Why these times? Because when you wake up and when you go to sleep, the subconscious mind is most receptive. The conscious mind is quieter, and suggestions can pass more easily into the deeper layers of thought. But reading is not enough. As you read, you must also visualize the goal as already achieved. Feel the emotions of joy, pride, and gratitude. Believe with absolute faith that it is coming true.
Words without feeling are like seeds thrown onto dry rocks. They will not take root. Emotion is the water and sunlight that makes them grow. Step 6. Believe it before you see it. This is where many fail. They repeat the words, but they don't truly believe them. They allow doubt to creep in. But faith must come first. You must act as though the reality already exists in your mind, even if there is no evidence yet in the outside world. This is not self-deception, it is self-creation. Think of a farmer planting seeds. When he buries seeds in the soil, there is no visible evidence that a crop will grow. But he plants anyway, with faith, because he knows the laws of nature will do their work. Autosuggestion works the same way. At first, nothing appears to be happening, but beneath the surface, the subconscious is being reprogrammed. In time, your thoughts blossom into circumstances.
The role of visualization. Visualization is the companion to autosuggestion. When you repeat your statement, do not just say the words, see the picture. If your goal is wealth, imagine holding the money, spending it, or using it for good. If your goal is a career achievement, imagine standing on the stage, shaking hands, or signing the contract.
The subconscious does not distinguish between real experience and vividly imagined experience. To the subconscious, both are equally real. That is why athletes rehearse mentally before competing, and musicians imagine performances before playing. Their subconscious accepts the imagery and prepares the body to act accordingly. The role of emotion. Hill emphasizes this again and again. Emotion is the key. The subconscious mind does not respond to cold words or half-hearted repetition. It responds to feelings. So when you affirm your desire, put your whole heart into it. Feel the excitement of achievement. Feel the gratitude for what is already coming. Feel the pride in the service you will give. When affirmation, visualization, and emotion combine, they create an irresistible force upon the subconscious mind. Why repetition works. The subconscious is shaped by repeated impressions. Think of it like carving into stone. A single stroke leaves only a mark, but repeated strokes carve deeply until the shape is permanent. Each time you repeat your affirmation with emotion, you cut a little deeper into the stone of your subconscious. Over weeks and months, those cuts form into a groove. That groove becomes a belief. And once something becomes a belief, your actions, habits, and opportunities begin to align with it automatically. This is the essence of autosuggestion, turning a conscious desire into an unconscious certainty. Putting it all together. So let's recap Hill's formula for autosuggestion. Write down a clear, definite statement of your desire. Decide what you will give in return. Set a deadline. Read your statement aloud twice daily. Visualize yourself in possession of the goal. Feel the emotion of achievement. Believe it as though it were already yours. Do this persistently, without skipping days, and you will gradually reprogram your subconscious mind.
Guarding the mind and practicing autosuggestion daily. Now that we've learned the formula for autosuggestion, it's time to talk about an equally important subject, protecting your mind from the wrong kind of suggestion. Negative autosuggestion, the enemy within. Autosuggestion is a double-edged sword. It works for you if you use it consciously, but it can also work against you if you use it carelessly. Every day, people unknowingly destroy their chances of success by feeding their subconscious with negative commands. They say things like, "I'll never be rich," "I don't deserve success," "I'm just unlucky," "People like me can't get ahead." Each time these phrases are repeated, even silently in thought, they are recorded in the subconscious. The subconscious, being obedient, accepts them as truth and sets about making them real. This is why many people remain trapped in cycles of poverty or failure. It is not only their circumstances that hold them back, it is the steady drip of negative self-suggestion that programs their subconscious to expect nothing better. Hill warns us clearly, be careful what you tell yourself because your subconscious is always listening. Protecting yourself from external negativity. It is not only our own words that shape our subconscious. The voices of others can also act as suggestions, positive or negative. If you spend time around people who constantly complain, doubt, or criticize, their words can creep into your mind and become your own beliefs. Over time, you may find yourself repeating their ideas. The economy is bad. Opportunities are scarce. Rich people are dishonest. These are not facts. They are suggestions. And if you allow them into your subconscious, they will shape your reality. Therefore, protecting your mind from negative influences is just as important as feeding it positive ones. Guard your attention. Limit your exposure to voices that plant doubt or fear.
Choose carefully the books you read, the media you consume, and the company you keep. Remember, every word, every thought, every emotion is a seed. Do not allow weeds to overrun your garden. Daily practice of autosuggestion. To truly master autosuggestion, you must make it a daily discipline. Hill suggests the following simple but powerful routine. Morning routine. As soon as you wake, take your written statement of desire. Read it aloud with passion. Close your eyes and visualize yourself already in possession of your goal. Feel the emotion, joy, pride, gratitude, as though it were real. This sets the tone for your entire day.
Evening routine. Before sleeping, repeat the same process. This is crucial because the subconscious is most receptive when the conscious mind is quiet. The last thought you hold before sleep sinks deep into your subconscious, where it continues to work throughout the night. Guard your day. Throughout the day, pay attention to your thoughts. When you catch yourself repeating a negative idea, stop and replace it instantly with your affirmation. For example, if you think, "I can't afford that," replace it with, "I am attracting wealth and opportunities that will allow me to afford anything I truly desire." Persistence. Do not expect instant results. Just as a seed takes time to grow into a tree, so do your affirmations take time to reshape your subconscious. The key is persistence, daily, disciplined repetition without fail. The silent work of the subconscious. One of the most fascinating truths about autosuggestion is that once an idea is accepted by the subconscious, it begins to influence your actions without conscious effort. Suppose your affirmation is about wealth. As your subconscious accepts it, you may find yourself noticing opportunities you previously ignored. You may feel compelled to take actions that bring you closer to your goal. Ideas will come to you suddenly, almost like flashes of inspiration. This is not magic. It is the subconscious at work. It silently organizes your behavior, sharpens your perception, and connects you with opportunities that align with your dominant belief. How doubt and fear interfere. No discussion of autosuggestion would be complete without addressing its greatest enemies, doubt and fear. When you affirm your desire, but then allow fear to dominate, you send mixed signals to your subconscious. One moment you are declaring, "I will achieve wealth," and the next moment you are worrying, "What if I fail?"
The subconscious receives both suggestions and becomes confused. The result is weak action, hesitation, or self-sabotage. This is why faith is so essential. You must guard against fear and replace it immediately with confident affirmation. Each time doubt creeps in, use it as a trigger to repeat your statement of desire with even greater passion. Fear is natural, but it does not have to be permanent. Through repetition of positive suggestion backed by faith, you gradually weaken fear until it no longer controls you. The discipline of self-control. Autosuggestion requires self-control. It is not enough to practice affirmations in the morning and evening and then spend the rest of the day indulging in fear, gossip, or negativity. That is like planting good seeds in the morning and then pouring poison on them in the afternoon. You must discipline your mind. Catch yourself when you drift into negative self-talk. Refuse to dwell on thoughts that weaken your belief. Surround yourself with influences that reinforce your faith rather than tear it down.
This discipline is not easy at first, but like any habit, it becomes natural with practice. In time, your mind becomes a carefully guarded garden, producing only the fruits you choose to plant. The danger of half-hearted effort. Hill is blunt about this. Autosuggestion will not work if you approach it with laziness or half-hearted effort. If you repeat your affirmations without emotion, without belief, and only occasionally, nothing will change. The subconscious requires constant repetition charged with faith before it accepts new ideas. This is why so many people try affirmations once or twice, see no result, and dismiss the whole idea as nonsense. They were like farmers who plant seeds and then walk away after a day expecting instant crops. Autosuggestion requires patience and persistence. Success goes to those who stick with the practice long enough for the subconscious to accept it as truth. Autosuggestion as a habit. The ultimate goal is to make autosuggestion a habit of thought. At first, it may feel forced. You must consciously remind yourself to repeat your affirmations, but over time, it becomes second nature. Eventually, positive self-talk becomes automatic. You no longer have to force yourself to believe. You simply do. The subconscious has been fully reprogrammed, and your thoughts naturally align with your desires. When that happens, success becomes a matter of course.
Chapter 4. Specialized Knowledge. Knowledge is power, but only when it is organized and applied with a definite purpose. Many people assume that having a degree or reading many books automatically puts them on the path to riches, but Napoleon Hill makes it clear, knowledge alone is not enough. There are two kinds of knowledge. General knowledge, the kind taught in schools, covering a wide range of subjects, and specialized knowledge, focused, applied, and directed toward a specific purpose. General knowledge is useful, yes, but it does not bring wealth on its own. A professor may know history, literature, mathematics, and philosophy better than anyone, yet struggle financially. Why? Because general knowledge is like scattered tools lying around a workshop. They exist, but unless they are organized into a definite plan and put to use, they remain idle. Specialized knowledge, on the other hand, is powerful when directed toward a purpose. It is the sharpened tool that builds fortunes. Every great fortune, every great business, every success story is built on someone's ability to use specialized knowledge in a practical way. The example of Henry Ford. Henry Ford was not an educated man in the traditional sense. In fact, many critics considered him ignorant. Once, in a court case, attorneys tried to humiliate him by asking him a series of complex questions, history, science, technical details, questions that had nothing to do with his actual work. They wanted to prove that he lacked intelligence. Ford's response was brilliant. He said he did not need to clutter his mind with information that could easily be found in a reference book or by asking an expert. Instead, he explained that he had a row of buttons on his desk. Whenever he needed specialized knowledge, he pressed a button and the right person, an expert in that field, appeared with the information. This story reveals the true secret. Success is not about knowing everything, but about knowing where to get the knowledge you need and how to apply it. Ford didn't waste his time memorizing useless facts. He used specialized knowledge from others and combined it with his vision to create an empire. The key point: knowledge must be organized into definite plans of action and directed toward a definite end if it is to bring riches. Think about it. Many people graduate from college with high grades, yet struggle to find jobs. Some of them remain unemployed or underpaid despite their education. Why? Because they stop learning. And more importantly, they never convert their general knowledge into specialized, applied skills that the marketplace demands. The world doesn't pay you for what you know. It pays you for what you can do with what you know. The importance of continuous learning. Specialized knowledge is not something you acquire once and keep forever. The world is changing too fast for that. To stay successful, you must be willing to learn continuously, to upgrade your skills, and to adapt to new situations. Fortunes are made every day because individuals find ways to apply specialized knowledge to new opportunities. The Internet, artificial intelligence, renewable energy, medicine, finance, every field is constantly evolving, and those who master specialized knowledge in these areas position themselves for wealth. If you have a clear purpose and desire, you can acquire the specialized knowledge you need in several ways: by personal experience and education, through the experiences of others, mentors, coaches, experts, from colleges, libraries, online platforms, and training courses, by joining groups like a mastermind alliance where knowledge is pooled and shared. The key is not just collecting knowledge, but applying it intelligently toward your definite major purpose. General knowledge is cheap. Let's pause here. Think about general knowledge. Millions of books exist in libraries. Billions of pieces of information are freely available online. Schools and universities teach a variety of subjects. This abundance of general knowledge is everywhere, and because it is everywhere, it is not valuable by itself. On the other hand, specialized knowledge that solves a real problem is rare and therefore valuable. That is why an engineer, a surgeon, a software developer, or a skilled entrepreneur can earn far more than someone who has only general knowledge. This doesn't mean one type of knowledge is better than the other. In fact, specialized knowledge often grows out of general knowledge. But unless you focus it toward a definite purpose, it has little financial value. Hill wants us to grasp one big idea. Knowledge alone will not make you rich. Only applied, organized, specialized knowledge will.
Why general knowledge often fails to bring wealth. One of the most common misunderstandings about success is the belief that a good education automatically guarantees riches. Every year, thousands of students graduate with advanced degrees, yet many struggle to find employment. Some even end up working jobs that do not require the education they worked so hard to earn. This is not because education is useless. Rather, it is because most of that education is general knowledge. It may build discipline, sharpen the mind, and expand one's understanding of the world, but it rarely provides the specialized skills that employers and businesses are looking for. For example, someone may know advanced mathematics, but unless they specialize in applying that mathematics to engineering, finance, or data science, the knowledge may not translate into income. A person may know philosophy or history in great depth, but unless they use that understanding in teaching, research, writing, or some practical field, the knowledge remains of little economic value. General knowledge is like water flowing everywhere. Specialized knowledge is like water directed into a dam, producing power. Specialized knowledge must be combined with imagination. Napoleon Hill stresses that specialized knowledge by itself is not enough. To become powerful, it must be combined with imagination. Imagination is the faculty that takes knowledge and converts it into ideas, plans, and organized strategies for success. Think about Thomas Edison. He did not invent the electric light purely because he had knowledge of electricity. Thousands of others understood the science. What set him apart was the imaginative way he applied that knowledge, experimenting and testing until the electric light bulb became a practical reality. The same applies in business. There are thousands of chefs in the world, but a chef who combines cooking skills with imagination can create a restaurant brand, a food product, or a media empire. Specialized knowledge provides the foundation. Imagination provides the spark.
You don't need to possess all the knowledge yourself. One of the most liberating truths in this chapter is that you don't need to personally acquire all the specialized knowledge necessary for your success. Henry Ford understood this, and so do all successful business leaders. You can hire, partner with, or consult experts who have the knowledge you lack. The important thing is that you, as the leader or organizer, know how to bring this knowledge together toward a definite goal. For example, the founder of a technology startup may not be the best programmer. Instead, they may have a vision for solving a problem and then bring in talented engineers, designers, and marketers who have the specialized knowledge to make that vision real. Napoleon Hill calls this process the creation of a mastermind group, a partnership of people with different areas of specialized knowledge working together in harmony toward a common purpose. This means anyone can succeed, regardless of where they start. Even if you do not have advanced education or technical skills, if you can build relationships with those who do and organize their knowledge effectively, you can achieve great things. Specialized knowledge as a business opportunity. Specialized knowledge not only helps you succeed in existing industries, but it also opens doors to creating entirely new businesses. For example, a person with specialized knowledge in fitness can create online courses, write books, or coach clients. Someone with specialized knowledge in marketing can help companies grow and charge high fees. An individual with specialized knowledge in coding can develop apps or software solutions. Even specialized hobbies like photography, gaming, or gardening can be turned into profitable ventures when paired with imagination and organized planning. The key is to recognize that knowledge becomes valuable only when it solves a problem or fulfills a need. If your specialized knowledge can help people save money, make money, improve their health, gain convenience, or feel happier, then it has the potential to generate wealth. Acquiring specialized knowledge. How do you acquire specialized knowledge? Fortunately, in today's world, opportunities are endless. In Napoleon Hill's time, he recommended universities, libraries, and apprenticeships. Those remain valuable today, but we now have even more options. Online courses and certifications, podcasts, webinars, and YouTube tutorials, mentorship from experienced professionals, communities and mastermind groups, direct experience through practice and experimentation. The important thing is that you pursue the knowledge that is directly connected to your definite purpose in life. Do not simply collect random knowledge for the sake of it. Ask yourself, will this knowledge bring me closer to my goal? Will it help me serve others in a way that creates value? If the answer is yes, then it is worth your time. The value of action. Hill emphasizes over and over that knowledge is useless without action. Too many people fall into the trap of becoming walking encyclopedias. They know a little about everything, and sometimes even a lot about one thing, but they never do anything with it. They read book after book, take course after course, and yet their financial situation never changes. Why? Because they failed to act. Specialized knowledge only produces wealth when it is transformed into practical action through definite plans. The marketplace does not reward thinkers who never act. It rewards doers who take knowledge and turn it into results. The key takeaway is that you don't need to know everything, but you must know how to apply specialized knowledge, whether yours or others, toward your definite purpose.
The danger of shelf knowledge. Napoleon Hill warns against the tendency to gather knowledge without using it. He gives the example of libraries filled with millions of books.
A library may contain the wisdom of centuries, but unless someone studies and applies that knowledge to a definite purpose, the books are nothing more than stacked paper. Think of how many people buy self-improvement books, attend seminars, or take online courses, yet their lives remain unchanged. Why? Because the knowledge stays on the shelf or in their notebooks. It is never translated into action. Hill calls this shelf knowledge. It sits there, looking impressive, but producing nothing. True wealth comes when knowledge is converted into power through organized use. The example of Andrew Carnegie. Napoleon Hill himself learned this lesson from Andrew Carnegie, the steel magnate. Carnegie was not a man of extraordinary technical skill. In fact, he admitted that he personally knew little about the technical side of steelmaking. So how did he become one of the wealthiest men of his time? By surrounding himself with men who possessed the specialized knowledge he lacked. Carnegie's genius was in leadership, vision, and the ability to organize the knowledge of others into a powerful system. This is a crucial point. Specialized knowledge does not need to live inside your own mind. It simply needs to be under your control and organized toward a definite aim. The role of desire in acquiring knowledge. Knowledge alone is not enough. Desire is the driving force that compels you to seek out specialized knowledge and apply it. Hill explains that most people fail because they lack strong desire. They may want success in a casual way, but they do not want it badly enough to invest the time, energy, and persistence required to gain the necessary knowledge. If your desire is strong, however, you will naturally search for ways to acquire and apply specialized knowledge. The strength of your desire will determine how far you go in the pursuit of mastery. For example, a person who desires financial independence will study investment strategies, not casually, but obsessively, until they can apply them.
A person who desires to become a doctor will dedicate years to acquiring specialized medical knowledge, despite the difficulty. An entrepreneur who dreams of solving a problem will dig into every bit of knowledge, technical, legal, financial, needed to bring their idea to life. Without strong desire, knowledge remains unused. With desire, knowledge becomes fuel for achievement. Applying specialized knowledge in practice. Let's imagine two people. The first is a college graduate who studied business administration. He has a broad understanding of management, accounting, marketing, and finance. But he leaves school without a definite goal. He applies for jobs here and there, drifts from one company to another, and years later finds himself earning an average salary with little progress. The second person may not even have a college degree, but she has a strong desire to build a career in digital marketing. She focuses her efforts on specialized training in that field: SEO, paid ads, content creation. She experiments, builds a portfolio, and applies her skills for small businesses. Within a few years, she builds an agency, hires a team, and earns more than many MBAs. The difference is not intelligence, luck, or opportunity. It is the application of specialized knowledge toward a definite goal. Continuous development of knowledge. Specialized knowledge is not a one-time acquisition. It must be continuously developed, refined, and updated. Hill makes this point by highlighting how industries change. What was valuable knowledge 20 years ago may be obsolete today. For example, a typewriter repair specialist was valuable in the 1960s. Today, that knowledge is almost useless.
A web developer in the early 2000s needed to know HTML and simple coding. Today, knowledge of advanced frameworks, AI integration, and cybersecurity is essential. A doctor must keep up with new treatments, technologies, and research. Otherwise, their knowledge becomes outdated and their patients suffer. The world does not stand still, and neither should your learning. Continuous growth is the key to keeping your specialized knowledge valuable. Specialized knowledge as leverage. Here's another important perspective. Specialized knowledge gives you leverage. Think about a lawyer. The law is public knowledge. Anyone can go to a library or online and study it. But a lawyer who spends years specializing in one area, say corporate law or intellectual property, becomes valuable because they can apply that knowledge efficiently. Clients pay them not for knowing the law itself, but for saving them time, avoiding mistakes, and applying that knowledge strategically. This is true in every field. Specialized knowledge allows you to command higher pay, attract better opportunities, and multiply your effectiveness. It is a form of leverage that separates average earners from top earners. Specialized knowledge is worthless without desire, action, and continuous development. But when properly applied, it becomes a powerful form of leverage that creates wealth.
Chapter 5. Imagination. The workshop of the mind. Imagination is the most marvelous, miraculous, and yet mysterious force ever given to humans. It is through imagination that all great achievements, inventions, and discoveries are born. Imagination takes the invisible and gives it form. It takes ideas from the unseen world of thought and brings them into reality. Without imagination, there would be no airplanes, no telephones, no electricity, no skyscrapers, no business empires, and no wealth. Everything that exists around us today was first created in someone's mind through the power of imagination. Napoleon Hill explains that imagination is truly the workshop of the mind. It is here the desires are shaped, organized, and given direction. Your mind is like a fertile soil, and imagination is the tool that allows you to plant seeds of desire and transform them into plans. These plans, when acted upon with persistence and faith, become reality. Think about this carefully. Every single invention or creation you see around you, your phone, the chair you sit on, the building you live in, the car you drive, or even the clothes you wear, all started as an idea in someone's imagination. At first, it was just a thought, a dream, or a vision. Then, through planning, effort, and persistence, it became something real. Hill reminds us that imagination can turn dreams into gold, but only if you learn how to use it. Two types of imagination. Hill describes two forms of imagination that every person has: synthetic imagination and creative imagination. Synthetic imagination. This is when you take existing ideas, concepts, or plans and rearrange them into new combinations. It doesn't necessarily create anything completely new, but it allows you to organize old concepts into fresh patterns. For example, most inventions you see today are simply improvements of something that already existed. The modern smartphone is a combination of earlier technologies: the telephone, the computer, the camera, and the internet. All of them existed before, but someone combined them in a new way to make something revolutionary. This is the form of imagination most people use in business.
It doesn't require genius, but it requires observation, organization, and creativity in mixing what already exists. Creative imagination. This is much deeper and more powerful. Creative imagination is the part of the mind where new ideas, inspirations, and flashes of genius come from. Hill explains that this faculty is connected to what he calls infinite intelligence. In modern terms, you might think of it as the subconscious mind drawing ideas from a universal source of knowledge or inspiration. Great poets, inventors, leaders, and thinkers often tap into this creative imagination. This is where Edison received inspiration for the electric light, where the Wright brothers envisioned flying, and where great leaders like Lincoln or Gandhi found guiding ideas. Both forms of imagination are valuable. Synthetic imagination is practical and useful in daily problem-solving in business. Creative imagination is rare, but it can bring forth ideas that change the world. Imagination in business and wealth. Hill gives many examples of how imagination creates wealth. He reminds us that every great fortune begins with an idea. The real source of wealth is not money, not raw materials, not machinery, but imagination. Think about Henry Ford. He did not invent the automobile. Cars existed before him. But he imagined a system of producing cars that would make them affordable to the average person. This idea of mass production came from imagination. As a result, Ford built an empire. Or consider Thomas Edison. His genius was not only in inventing the electric bulb, but also in creating systems of electricity distribution so that homes and cities could use electric light. Again, it was imagination at work.
Hill insists that imagination is not limited to geniuses or scientists. Business people, entrepreneurs, and even workers can use imagination. Every plan for earning money, every new method of selling, every improvement in service all come from imagination. Imagination is especially powerful when combined with a burning desire. If you truly desire wealth or success, you can use imagination to shape concrete plans for reaching it. Without imagination, desire has no direction. With imagination, desire turns into action. The story of Coca-Cola. One of the most famous stories Hill uses to show the power of imagination is the story of Coca-Cola. At one time, Coca-Cola was just a small drink created by a pharmacist in Atlanta, Georgia. The formula itself was not extraordinary, but someone imagined that this drink could be sold worldwide, not just as a medicine, but as a refreshing beverage. That imagination turned Coca-Cola into a business empire worth billions of dollars. Think about it. The drink itself costs only a few cents to produce. The real wealth came from the idea of marketing and distributing it everywhere, creating a brand that people loved. That idea was born in someone's imagination. This shows that imagination, not the product itself, creates riches. Building plans through imagination. Desire alone will not create wealth. Desire must be transformed into concrete plans, and imagination is the tool that shapes those plans. Hill explains that after you have a burning desire for something, you must sit down and use your imagination to create a plan. The plan may not be perfect, it may fail, but through imagination, you can create new plans and try again. Persistence and imagination together are unbeatable. He warns that many people fail because they never go beyond vague wishing. They want success, but they don't make definite plans. Or they make one plan, it fails, and they give up.
The successful person uses imagination to make new plans until one works. This is why imagination is called the workshop of the mind. It is where raw desires are shaped into practical steps. How to use imagination? Hill suggests a simple process. Write down your desire clearly. Be specific. Instead of saying, "I want money," say, "I will earn $50,000 within the next year through my business." Use imagination to create a plan. Ask yourself, what can I offer? What service, product, or skill can I use to create this money? Rearrange existing ideas. Look at how others succeeded. Combine different approaches. Turn your plan into action immediately. Don't wait until everything is perfect. Start with what you have. If the plan fails, use imagination again. Make a new plan. Improve the old one. Keep adjusting. Never stop using imagination. The more you use it, the stronger it becomes. Like a muscle, imagination grows with exercise. The need for imagination today. Even though Hill wrote this book in the 1930s, his words are even more true today. The modern world changes rapidly. Old methods quickly become outdated. Those who succeed are the ones who constantly use imagination to create new solutions, new services, and new ways of doing business. Think about how companies like Apple, Google, or Amazon grew. Each one started with an idea in someone's imagination. Apple imagined making technology beautiful and simple. Google imagined organizing the world's information. Amazon imagined selling books online, then expanded that imagination to selling everything. In today's world, imagination is not optional. It is the key to survival and growth.
How ideas become fortunes. Hill emphasizes again and again that ideas are the true beginning of wealth. A single idea, when combined with imagination and persistence, can be worth millions, even billions. Money itself is not the root of wealth. Imagination is. The story of Edwin C. Barnes. One of Napoleon Hill's favorite examples of imagination at work is the story of Edwin C. Barnes, the man who became Thomas Edison's business partner. Barnes was just a poor, ordinary man with no money, no connections, and no special education. But he had one burning desire. He wanted to become Edison's business associate. Not his employee, not just a worker, but a partner. Barnes imagined himself standing side by side with Edison. This vision in his imagination was so strong that he felt it as if it were already true. He didn't know how it would happen, but his imagination gave him the courage to take the first step. He traveled by freight train, dirty and broke, just to meet Edison in person. When he met Edison, he boldly stated his desire. Of course, Edison didn't immediately give him a partnership. Instead, Edison gave him a small job. But Barnes didn't quit. He kept the vision alive in his imagination. For years, he worked faithfully, waiting for the opportunity. Then one day, Edison created a new invention called the Edison dictating machine, something like today's voice recorder. Edison's salesmen didn't believe in it. They thought it would fail. But Barnes saw his chance. Barnes imagined himself as the one to sell this machine. He believed it could succeed. He put his imagination into action, went out and sold it effectively. His success was so great that Edison finally made him a partner. That one idea in Barnes's imagination, that he would become Edison's partner, transformed his entire life. The lesson is powerful. Imagination,
backed by desire and persistence can overcome poverty, lack of education, and lack of connections. The Birth of an Empire. The story of Think and Grow Rich. Even the very book you are listening to was born in imagination. Hill himself spent more than 20 years studying the lives of successful people. But the idea of putting all this knowledge into one philosophy was an act of imagination. Andrew Carnegie, the steel magnate, first planted the seed. Carnegie imagined that someone could organize the success principles of the most powerful men into a simple formula for others to follow. Carnegie shared this idea with Hill, who then used his own imagination to bring it to life. Today, millions of people around the world read this book, proving again that imagination creates realities far bigger than the original idea. How great leaders use imagination. Every great leader has been a person of imagination. Leadership is not just about giving orders. It's about seeing possibilities that others cannot see. Napoleon Bonaparte imagined himself as ruler of Europe long before he had power. He saw in his imagination a vision of conquest, and this drove him to rise from obscurity. Mahatma Gandhi used imagination in a completely different way. He imagined a free India, but not through war, through peaceful resistance. That idea, though it seemed impossible at the time, became reality and changed history.
Abraham Lincoln imagined the preservation of the United States as one nation, free from slavery. His vision guided him through the darkest period of American history. Without imagination, leaders cannot inspire others, cannot set new directions, and cannot achieve greatness. From imagination to organized plans. Hill warns us, however, that imagination must be organized. A mere daydream is not enough. Many people spend their lives dreaming but never acting. To transform imagination into wealth, you must create a definite desire. What do you truly want? Transform the desire into a definite goal. How much? By when? Use imagination to design a plan. How can I get it? What steps will I take? Put the plan into action immediately. Adjust and improve the plan as needed. This process makes imagination practical. The power of definite ideas. Hill makes it very clear, vague wishes and half-formed dreams are useless. Wealth is created only when imagination is definite. If you want riches, you must imagine specifically the exact amount of money, the exact time frame, the exact service, product, or plan you will use to earn it. For example, instead of saying, "I want to be rich someday," you should say, "I will earn $100,000 within the next 12 months by building a consulting business that serves small companies." This is how imagination takes shape. When the mind has a clear picture, it begins to attract ideas, people, and resources to make it real. The importance of marketing imagination. Hill stresses that in the modern world, marketing imagination is just as important as invention. A brilliant product or service can fail if it is not marketed well. Take the example of Coca-Cola again. The drink itself is simple, but the marketing idea behind it was revolutionary. That marketing imagination created a worldwide fortune. On the other hand, history is full of stories of inventors who created great products but died poor because they lacked imagination in marketing. Edison himself was not only an inventor, but also a master of marketing imagination. The example of Henry Ford. Henry Ford did not invent the automobile, nor did he invent the assembly line,
but he used imagination to combine both into a system that transformed manufacturing forever. Ford imagined that the common man, not just the wealthy elite, could own a car. That vision shaped his entire business strategy. He designed the Model T, a car affordable for ordinary families. Then, using the assembly line system, he reduced costs so much that millions could buy it. Ford's imagination was not about inventing something new, but about seeing a possibility others ignored. This made him one of the richest men of his time. The price of neglecting imagination. Hill warns us that those who fail to use imagination are doomed to be followers, working for those who do. If you do not use imagination to create your own plans, you will spend your life executing the plans of others. Think about it. Every job you do, every company you work for, every system you follow was first created by someone else's imagination. If you never use your own, you remain at the mercy of others. This is why imagination is not just for inventors or entrepreneurs. It is for anyone who wants control over their own life. Imagination must be fueled by desire. Finally, Hill reminds us that imagination alone is not enough. It must be fueled by a burning desire. Desire is the energy. Imagination is the tool. Together, they create power. If you desire riches only weakly, your imagination will not work for you. But if your desire is strong, your imagination will become sharp, alive, and active. Ideas will come to you, often in unexpected ways.
Turning dreams into reality. Hill explains that the real magic of imagination is its ability to take something invisible and make it real. Wealth and success are not created by chance. They are created twice, first in the mind, then in the material world. Think about a skyscraper. Before the first brick was laid, the entire building existed in someone's imagination. The architect saw it in detail, the height, the structure, the design. Only after the vision was clear in the mind could engineers and workers build it. The same is true for fortunes, businesses, careers, and personal success. Everything must first be built in imagination before it can exist in reality. The mind as a magnet. Hill reminds us that the human mind, when charged with a strong desire, acts like a magnet. Imagination gives this magnet a direction. Once you clearly imagine your goal, your mind begins to attract opportunities, resources, and people that align with your vision. It may seem mysterious, but think of it practically. If you imagine a goal strongly enough, you begin to see opportunities you would have ignored before. You notice conversations, articles, or events that relate to your goal. Your behavior changes, and you take actions that bring you closer to it. In short, imagination activates the mind's power to focus and attract. Imagination and the subconscious mind. Hill also connects imagination with the subconscious mind. The subconscious is like fertile soil. Whatever you plant in it grows. Imagination is the tool you use to plant clear, specific seeds. If you keep imagining failure, poverty, and loss, your subconscious will accept these ideas and guide your actions toward them. But if you consistently imagine wealth, success, and achievement, your subconscious will accept that too and begin working to bring it into reality. This is why Hill warns us to be very careful with what we allow into our imagination. Negative images produce negative results. Positive, definite images produce positive results. The story of the Chicago skyscraper. Hill gives an example from Chicago's early days. A man imagined that Chicago could be built into one of the greatest cities in America, filled with skyscrapers and industry. At that time,
The idea seemed ridiculous. Chicago was a muddy, unimportant town. But the vision of that man, supported by others, eventually came true. Today, Chicago is filled with skyscrapers and known worldwide. All of it started in imagination. This story reminds us great cities, great companies, great fortunes all begin in someone's mind as a dream. The Wright brothers and the dream of flight. Perhaps the most famous example of imagination is the story of the Wright brothers. At the start of the 20th century, many scientists and engineers believed human flight was impossible. But Wilbur and Orville Wright imagined it differently. They pictured a machine that could fly. Their imagination was not just idle dreaming, it was a burning vision. They faced failure after failure, but every time they used imagination to adjust their designs. Finally, in 1903, their dream took wings in Kitty Hawk, North Carolina. Today, millions of people travel by air every day. An entire industry worth billions grew from two brothers' imaginative dream. The beginning of a fortune. Ideas that became wealth.
Hill tells us that some of the greatest fortunes in history were born from simple ideas. A young man imagined a better way of producing steel. His name was Andrew Carnegie. His idea built one of the greatest fortunes of all time. Another man imagined building a machine that would record and reproduce sound. His name was Thomas Edison. That idea not only created wealth, but also transformed human culture. Another imagined that oil could become the most important fuel of the modern world. His name was John D. Rockefeller. His vision gave birth to Standard Oil and one of the greatest fortunes in history. In each case, the starting point was imagination. The role of persistence in imagination. Hill makes a crucial point. Imagination must be supported by persistence. Ideas alone are not enough. Many people have good ideas, but they never act on them, or they give up after the first failure. The person who succeeds is the one who keeps using imagination to create new plans after every failure. This is why persistence is the partner of imagination. Failure is not the end. It is feedback. It tells you that your plan wasn't right. So you use imagination again, make a new plan, and keep moving. Barnes became Edison's partner because he persisted. The Wright brothers succeeded because they persisted. Ford built his empire because he persisted. The lesson is clear. Imagination without persistence is just daydreaming. Imagination with persistence becomes power. Using imagination in everyday life. Hill explains that imagination is not only for great inventors or billionaires, it is useful in daily life. If you are in business, use imagination to think of better ways to serve your customers. If you are employed, use imagination to improve your work, to solve problems, and to make yourself more valuable. If you are struggling financially, use imagination to see opportunities around you. Many fortunes were made by ordinary people who looked at common things in new ways. Imagination is like a lens. It helps you see possibilities that others overlook. A warning against laziness of the mind. Hill also warns about the danger of letting imagination grow weak. Many people stop using imagination after leaving school. They settle into routines, repeat the same work daily, and never think creatively. But imagination, like a muscle, becomes stronger the more you use it. If you neglect it, it weakens. If you exercise it, it becomes powerful. He suggests that you deliberately set aside time to think. Sit down, write your goals, and use your imagination to create plans. This practice, repeated regularly, sharpens your mind and gives you an edge over others. Why imagination is priceless.
Finally, Hill states something profound. Everything of value that exists today came first from imagination. That means imagination is priceless. Machinery, factories, money, land, these can all be lost or destroyed. But a person with imagination can rebuild wealth again and again. This is why so many self-made millionaires, even after losing everything, rise again. Their true wealth is not money, but the ability to imagine and create.
Chapter 6. Organized Planning: The Crystallization of Desire into Action. In the earlier chapters, we learned about desire, faith, autosuggestion, specialized knowledge, and imagination. These are essential elements in the process of accumulating wealth. But now comes the stage where these elements must be combined into something practical, something that can be acted upon. That stage is organized planning. Napoleon Hill emphasizes that success is not a matter of chance. It is never the result of luck or some random stroke of fortune. Instead, success is the outcome of careful planning backed by persistence, intelligence, and the ability to work with others. A person may have a burning desire and even a clear vision of what they want, but without a practical plan, desire remains only a wish. Think of desire as the blueprint of a building. It shows what the final outcome should look like. But a blueprint alone does not construct the building. The actual structure arises only when the plan is translated into coordinated action. In the same way, wealth and success require an organized plan to bring them into reality. Hill puts it clearly: you must ally yourself with a group of as many people as you may need for the creation and carrying out of your plan. This is where the concept of mastermind group comes in. No one rises to great achievement without the cooperation of others. The most successful people in history surrounded themselves with allies, advisors, and trusted partners who provided knowledge, support, and strength. So, how does one begin with organized planning? Step 1. Put your desire into writing. The first step is to take the definite chief aim you created earlier, your desire for wealth, and write it down in detail. State the exact amount of money you intend to acquire. State the exact date by which you plan to acquire it. State what you are willing to give in return for this money. This clear written statement becomes the foundation of your plan. Step 2. Form a concrete plan. Next, develop a practical plan for how you will achieve this desire. The plan may not be perfect. In fact, your first plan will almost certainly be incomplete. But the important thing is to begin. Many people wait endlessly, hoping for the perfect plan. That day never comes. Success belongs to those who act, even with an imperfect plan, and then adjust as they go. Hill stresses this point. Do not wait for the perfect moment. Start where you are, with what you have. Use your imagination and specialized knowledge, then put them into action.
Step 3. Create your mastermind group. To strengthen your plan, surround yourself with others who can provide advice, knowledge, and encouragement. This is the Mastermind Alliance, a group of individuals who work in harmony toward a definite purpose. Each member contributes something: skills, experience, ideas, or resources. Together, the group creates a collective energy that is far greater than the sum of its parts. When forming this group, it is important to choose carefully. Select people who are sympathetic,
trustworthy, and willing to work with you in a spirit of harmony. Avoid those who are negative, jealous, or critical, as they can destroy the unity of the group. Step 4. Keep plans flexible. Hill warns that most initial plans fail. That's not a sign of defeat, but a natural part of the process. When a plan fails, replace it with another. If that fails too, create yet another. Keep trying until you find a plan that works. The person who refuses to quit will eventually find the right method. The difference between temporary defeat and permanent failure lies in persistence. Thomas Edison, for example, failed thousands of times before he finally created a working light bulb. Each failure was simply a step toward success. If he had stopped after the first few attempts, the world might never have known his invention. This same principle applies to building wealth. Failure is only a signal that your current plan is not the right one. Change the plan, but never change the goal. Step 5. Combine planning with decision and action. A plan is useless if it is not acted upon. Many people fail because they are content with planning endlessly without ever taking real steps. Hill insists that a plan without action is just a wish. Decision and action are the bridges that connect your plan with your desire. He also points out that procrastination is one of the greatest enemies of success. Successful people make decisions quickly and change them slowly, if at all. Unsuccessful people, on the other hand, are slow to decide and quick to change their minds. If you wish to build wealth, train yourself to make firm decisions and act upon them without hesitation.
So far, we've learned that organized planning transforms desire into reality through practical action. But in order to carry out any plan, there must be direction. Someone must take the lead. Without leadership, even the best plan falls apart. Napoleon Hill explains that there are two kinds of leadership in the world. Leadership by consent. This is leadership that arises because people choose to follow. It is based on trust, respect, and cooperation. Leadership by force. This is leadership imposed upon people through fear, pressure, or domination. History shows that leadership by force always collapses in the long run. Empires built on fear eventually crumble because people naturally resist being controlled. On the other hand, leadership by consent endures because it inspires loyalty and harmony. For anyone seeking lasting success, leadership by consent is the only true path. The 11 major attributes of leadership. Hill lists 11 qualities that every successful leader must possess. Unwavering courage. A leader must inspire confidence by showing courage in both words and actions. Followers will not trust a leader who shows fear or hesitation. Self-control. A leader must control their own emotions and actions before attempting to control others. Lack of self-discipline destroys respect. A keen sense of justice. People will only follow someone who treats them fairly and justly. Definiteness of decision. A leader must make firm decisions promptly. Indecision creates doubt, and doubt destroys confidence. Definiteness of plans. A leader must not only decide quickly, but also create practical plans for action. A weak plan invites failure. The habit of doing more than paid for. A leader must set the example by putting in extra effort. Followers will respect and copy this spirit of going beyond duty. A pleasing personality. A leader does not need to be handsome or charming, but they must have a personality that attracts goodwill and cooperation. No one wants to follow a leader who is rude or unpleasant. Sympathy and understanding.
A good leader listens to others, understands their problems, and shows genuine concern for their welfare. Mastery of detail. Success requires attention to detail. A leader cannot afford to be careless or ignorant about important matters. Willingness to assume full responsibility. A true leader does not shift blame to others when things go wrong. They accept responsibility and look for solutions instead of excuses.
Cooperation. A leader must work harmoniously with others and inspire the same cooperation among the team. Without unity, plans fail. These qualities form the foundation of real leadership. Without them, a person may hold a title, but they will not inspire loyalty or achieve lasting success. The two forms of leadership failure. Just as there are traits of strong leadership, there are also common causes of failed leadership. Hill identifies 10 reasons why leaders fail. Inability to organize details. Leaders who are careless with details quickly lose credibility. Unwillingness to render humble service. A leader must be willing to serve others, not just command them. Expecting pay for what they know rather than what they do. The world pays for results, not intentions. Fear of competition from followers. Great leaders help others grow instead of holding them back. Lack of imagination. Without creativity, a leader cannot adapt to changing circumstances. Selfishness. Leaders who only think about themselves lose the support of their followers. Intemperance. Excessive habits, whether in food, drink, or lifestyle, destroy discipline and respect. Disloyalty. No leader can expect loyalty if they are not loyal in return. Emphasis on authority rather than cooperation. True leaders rely on respect, not fear. Overemphasis on title. A title alone does not make someone a leader. People follow ability, not labels. Each of these reasons is a warning sign. If a leader falls into these traps, failure is almost certain. Leadership and opportunity. Hill reminds us that America, and indeed the modern world, is always in need of strong, capable leaders. Every great crisis, every industry, every organization requires leadership. Opportunities for leadership are endless, but success comes only to those who are prepared with the right qualities. He also emphasizes that those who seek positions of leadership must be willing to pay the price. That price includes effort, responsibility, and sometimes sacrifice. Leadership is not about privilege or comfort. It is about service and responsibility. At this stage, Napoleon Hill shifts focus back to the importance of the mastermind alliance. Leaders do not succeed alone. They need allies, partners, and supporters. The mastermind multiplies intelligence, creativity, and energy. Hill writes, "No individual has sufficient experience, education, native ability, and knowledge to ensure the accumulation of great wealth without the cooperation of other people." This is why organized planning requires teamwork. The greatest fortunes in history, whether in industry, finance, or invention, have always been the result of cooperative effort. We've already seen that a practical plan, combined with leadership and decision, forms the foundation of success. But no one can carry out a large plan alone. Every successful person in history has surrounded themselves with others who shared the vision and contributed their strength. This is what Napoleon Hill calls the mastermind alliance. The mastermind in action. The mastermind principle means the coordination of knowledge and effort between two or more people, working in harmony toward a definite purpose. When two or more minds work together in this spirit, a kind of third mind is created, a mastermind that draws upon the energy of each individual. It may sound abstract, but think of it this way. If you join your intelligence, imagination, and determination with others who share your goal, the result is far greater than what you could do alone. One idea sparks another.
Obstacles are seen from different angles, and energy multiplies. Some of the greatest fortunes ever made came from alliances. Henry Ford had a team of experts in engineering, finance, and production. Andrew Carnegie openly admitted that he personally knew little about steelmaking. His fortune came from surrounding himself with men who knew more than he did. Carnegie once said that his chief skill was knowing how to bring together able men and motivate them to work in harmony. That is the power of the mastermind. How to form your own mastermind. Napoleon Hill suggests the following steps for creating a successful alliance. Choose members carefully. Pick individuals who bring different strengths, knowledge, resources, experience, or connections that complement your own. Avoid negative or envious people who will destroy harmony. Agree on a definite purpose. The group must have one clear shared goal. If each person pursues different ends, the alliance will collapse. Establish harmony. Cooperation and trust are essential. Conflict, jealousy, or hidden agendas will ruin the effort. Meet regularly. The alliance must be active. Meetings can be weekly, monthly, or as often as needed, but they must be consistent. Contribute fairly. Every member should bring value. It may be money, knowledge, skill, or influence. If you follow these principles, your mastermind will give you strength, courage, and insight that you could never achieve alone. Temporary defeat is not failure. Even with strong planning and a powerful mastermind group, you will face setbacks. Napoleon Hill is very clear: temporary defeat is not permanent failure. Every successful person has faced defeat, often many times. Thomas Edison failed thousands of times before inventing the light bulb. Henry Ford went broke 5 times before he finally succeeded. Abraham Lincoln lost elections repeatedly before becoming President of the United States. Defeat is simply a test. It asks, how strong is your desire? How willing are you to persist? Those who quit at the first sign of trouble prove that their desire was weak. Those who persist eventually find success. Hill writes, every failure brings with it the seed of an equivalent advantage. In other words, every defeat teaches something valuable. The key is to analyze the setback, find the lesson, and create a new plan. Remember, you can always change your plan, but never change your goal. Persistence in carrying out plans. Many people begin with enthusiasm, but quit when difficulties appear. They fail not because their desire was impossible, but because they lacked persistence. Hill emphasizes that persistence is one of the most important qualities of successful people. Persistence is strengthened by a clear purpose. If you know exactly what you want, it is easier to push through obstacles. A burning desire. If your goal excites you deeply, you will keep going despite difficulties. Self-reliance. Confidence in your own ability helps you endure setbacks. Definiteness of plans. A clear plan, even if imperfect, gives direction to your effort. Accurate knowledge. The more you understand your field, the less fear you have. Cooperation. Support from others multiplies your persistence. Willpower. The ability to focus your mind and resist giving up. Habit. Persistence grows when you make it a regular part of your behavior. Without persistence, even the best plan collapses. With persistence, even an average plan can lead to success. Turning setbacks into opportunities. Hill reminds us that failure is often nothing more than a signal that your plan needs adjustment. Many people quit just before success would have come. He shares the story of R.U. Darby, who stopped digging for gold when he was just 3 feet away from a massive vein. Another man came along, dug a little deeper, and found the treasure. The lesson is clear. Never give up too soon. The breakthrough often comes right after the struggle seems hardest.
Chapter 7. Decision. The power of firm decisions. One of the greatest weaknesses that holds people back from success is the inability to make firm decisions. Most people struggle with hesitation, procrastination, or the habit of changing their minds too often. They allow outside opinions, fear, and doubt to influence them. Napoleon Hill reminds us that successful people are different. They develop the ability to reach decisions quickly, and once made, they hold firmly to those decisions. This chapter is about decision-making power. Hill calls it the mastery of procrastination. You see, procrastination is simply the opposite of decision. When you delay making a choice, when you wait for the perfect moment, when you keep telling yourself, "I'll do it tomorrow," you're practicing procrastination. On the other hand, when you make a decision and follow it with action, you are demonstrating mastery over procrastination. Every person who has accumulated great wealth, every leader who has left a mark in history was known for being decisive. They were not always right, but they were always sure. And even when they made mistakes, they corrected them quickly by making another firm decision. Hill emphasizes that indecision and procrastination are enemies that grow stronger when you feed them. The longer you wait to decide, the more doubt creeps in. The more you hesitate, the more you let fear take control. That is why the truly successful individuals learn to act quickly and confidently. Think about it. When you make a decision, you take control of your life. You're saying to yourself and to the world, "This is my direction." But when you refuse to decide, you leave your life in the hands of chance, circumstance, and the decisions of others.
Hill gives many examples of this principle. The man who signed the Declaration of Independence made a clear decision. They decided that freedom was worth more than their own safety. By signing, they risked their lives, their fortunes, and their families. Yet they were firm. They didn't waver. That kind of decisiveness is what creates history. Most people are too easily influenced by the opinions of others. They ask too many people for advice. They let gossip, criticism, and fear hold them back. Hill warns us, if you want to be successful, you must learn to keep your own counsel. Trust yourself. Trust your plan. Listen to advice, but make your own decision. The truth is, opinions are cheap. Everyone has them, and most of them are worth very little. If you allow yourself to be swayed by every passing opinion, you will never move forward. The successful man or woman does not announce every idea or plan to the public. They move quietly, make their decisions, and then act with persistence until they succeed. Hill also points out something important. Decisions are not made with words. They are made with actions. You can say, "I've decided to be wealthy," but unless you follow through with action, that decision means nothing. True decision is always backed by action. Let's pause for a moment and reflect on this. How many times have you said you were going to do something but never followed through? How many times have you delayed action because you were waiting for the perfect time? These are signs of indecision. And if you want to build wealth, success, or any great achievement, you must train yourself to move past this weakness. Hill says that the world has a habit of making room for the person whose words and actions show they know where they are going. When you decide, when you step forward with confidence, people notice, opportunities appear, and strangely, help begins to come from unexpected places. That is the magic of decision. This chapter teaches us that procrastination and indecision are enemies of success. The secret is to train your mind to reach decisions quickly and firmly, then stick with them until you succeed. That is how great leaders, inventors, and wealthy people have always operated.
Independence of thought and the cost of decision. Now that we understand the importance of making firm decisions, Napoleon Hill takes us deeper. He explains that the greatest leaders throughout history had one thing in common. They relied on their own
judgment. They were not controlled by the crowd. They thought for themselves and acted with independence. This is a rare quality because most people are creatures of habit. They do what everyone else is doing. They fear standing out. They crave approval, so they hesitate, waiting for others to agree before they act. But real decision makers do not live this way. They develop the courage to be different. Hill warns us of one of the biggest traps in life, being too concerned about what other people think. He calls it one of the most common causes of failure. The person who worries constantly about the opinions of neighbors, relatives, or friends will rarely go far. Why? Because opinions are often negative, discouraging, or filled with doubt. And if you let them enter your mind, they can kill your dreams before they even begin. Think about it. How many brilliant ideas have died because someone said, "That'll never work"? How many people gave up on their goals because friends laughed at them or family members told them to be realistic? Hill makes it clear, if you want success, you must learn to shut out negative opinions. One of the best examples of this principle is Henry Ford. Ford was known for his stubbornness. Once he made up his mind, he rarely changed it. Some people criticized him for being too inflexible, but it was this quality that allowed him to revolutionize the automobile industry. He made decisions quickly and stood by them. Even when experts told him something couldn't be done, he persisted until it was done. His stubborn decision-making gave the world affordable automobiles.
Hill also reminds us that every decision comes with a price. You must be willing to risk criticism, failure, and even rejection. The men who signed the Declaration of Independence knew the cost of their decision. If they failed, they would be executed as traitors. Yet they signed with courage. That is why their names are remembered with honor. Decisions often separate leaders from followers. Leaders make their own choices and stand firm. Followers wait for someone else to decide for them. This is why most people remain employees all their lives, while only a few become employers or entrepreneurs. It's not about intelligence, it's about decisiveness. Another important point Hill makes is that decision-making requires courage. It is not easy to choose your own path when others disagree. It is not easy to say yes to a dream when everyone else says no. But courage is like a muscle. The more you use it, the stronger it becomes. Many successful people began with nothing but a decision. They didn't have all the answers. They didn't know exactly how things would turn out. But they made a choice, committed to it, and figured things out along the way. Their decision was the turning point. Hill tells us opportunities come to those who make decisions quickly. Life will never hand you perfect conditions. If you wait for the stars to align, you will wait forever. The secret is to decide, take action, and adjust as you go. Think of great inventors, explorers, and entrepreneurs. They didn't wait for certainty. They acted in faith, believing that the details would reveal themselves once they began moving forward. That's how discoveries are made. That's how empires are built. This gives us a tough but powerful truth. If you want wealth and success, you must learn to stop fearing criticism. You must stop seeking permission from others. And above all, you must stop procrastinating. Decisions may not always be perfect, but indecision is always destructive. Let us remember, history doesn't remember those who sat on the fence. It remembers those who chose a side, took a risk, and acted with courage.
Decision, persistence, and the road to success.
In the earlier parts of this chapter, Napoleon Hill explained that successful people make decisions quickly and firmly. But there's another side to this truth. Once a decision is made, it must be supported with persistence. Without persistence, decisions collapse under pressure. Think about it this way. Making a decision is like planting a seed. Persistence is the care and nourishment that allows that seed to grow into a tree. Without persistence, the seed dries up and dies. That's why Hill often reminds us that persistence and decision go hand in hand. He tells us that the world has a curious way of stepping aside for people who know what they want. When someone acts with certainty, people respect them. Opportunities open. Even opponents eventually give way. But when you waver, when you keep changing your mind, the world senses weakness and ignores you. Many people fail not because they never decided, but because they abandoned their decision too quickly. They quit when obstacles appeared. They allowed temporary defeat to change their minds. But successful people don't do this. They may adjust their methods, but they do not abandon their purpose. Hill points to Thomas Edison as a shining example. Edison decided early in life that he would be an inventor. When he set out to create the electric light bulb, he faced thousands of failures. Each failure could have been a reason to quit, to change his decision. But Edison persisted. He stood by his decision until the world finally gave way and his dream became reality. That is the power of decision backed by persistence.
Another example is Abraham Lincoln. Throughout his life, Lincoln faced repeated failures, business failures, political defeats, personal losses. But he never changed his decision to serve his country and lead it. He persisted in his belief that he could make a difference. Eventually, that persistence carried him into the White House and allowed him to preserve the nation during its darkest hour. These stories remind us that decision alone is not enough. Anyone can say, "I have decided to be successful." But when the first hardship appears, most people abandon that decision. The winners are those who keep going, who continue even when the path is rough. Hill gives us a practical warning. Once you decide on a major goal, keep it private until it is achieved. Why? Because the moment you share it with others, you expose yourself to criticism and doubt. And if you are not strong enough, their negativity can shake your resolve. Instead, move quietly, let your results speak for you, and prove your decision through action. It is also important to understand that decision shapes destiny. Every great fortune, every great achievement can be traced back to a single decision. Someone, somewhere, said, "I will do this." That simple but powerful moment set everything else in motion. So the question comes back to us. What decisions are we making? Are we hesitating, waiting, doubting? Or are we choosing boldly, moving forward with persistence? Remember, the habit of indecision is like a chain that holds people back. Breaking that chain requires courage, but once broken, life begins to move in a new direction. Hill closes this chapter with a challenge. Practice making decisions quickly, even in small matters. Train your mind to act. Stop postponing. Stop waiting for someday. Each time you decide and act, you strengthen the muscle of decision. Over time, it becomes natural. And always remember this final lesson. Procrastination is the thief of opportunity. Decision is the door to success. Those who master decision hold in their hands the power to shape their lives, create wealth, and leave a legacy.
Chapter 8. Persistence. The foundation of persistence.
Persistence is the quiet force that turns dreams into reality. You can have a clear desire, an inspiring vision, even a brilliant plan, but without persistence, none of these will come alive. It is persistence that transforms wishes into achievements. Many people start with excitement, but fall away when the road becomes difficult. That's why in the long run, success belongs not to the most gifted, but to the most determined. Think about it in today's world. How many start new habits, like going to the gym, saving money, or building a business, only to stop after a few weeks? It's rarely because they cannot do it, it's because they stopped trying. Persistence is what separates those who make lasting change from those who quit halfway. History gives us powerful reminders. Thomas Edison failed thousands of times before producing the light bulb. He kept at it, refusing to believe failure was permanent. Henry Ford faced bankruptcy before building one of the world's largest automobile companies. Abraham Lincoln suffered repeated defeats before becoming president. But let's look closer at today. J.K. Rowling, author of the Harry Potter series, was rejected by 12 publishers before one agreed to print her book. Imagine if she had stopped after the 5th rejection, or the 10th. Today, her work is loved across the globe. Or consider Elon Musk. He invested nearly everything into Tesla and SpaceX. Both companies nearly collapsed. Factories struggled, rockets exploded, critics laughed at his vision. But he persisted. Today, Tesla leads in electric cars, and SpaceX is changing the way we think about space exploration. These stories highlight an important truth. Persistence is not about never failing, it's about never quitting. Now you may wonder, why do some people persist while others give up? Napoleon Hill explains that persistence grows from desire. If your desire is strong enough, persistence becomes natural. Weak desire leads to weak effort, but burning desire fuels unstoppable determination. Exercise 1 for you. Write down your most important goal. Ask yourself, do I want this strongly enough to keep going even if it takes years? If the answer is yes, persistence will grow naturally. If the answer feels weak, strengthen your desire by imagining what achieving that goal will mean for your life, your family, and your future.
Obstacles that break persistence. Even when we know persistence is key, many of us still fall short. Why? Because certain weaknesses creep in and steal our determination. Hill lists them clearly, and we can see them all around us today. The first weakness is unclear goals. If you don't know exactly what you want, how can you persist? Vague wishes like, I want to be rich or I want to be happy, do not generate persistence. But when your goal is specific, I want to save $10,000 this year, or I want to publish a book by December, then persistence has something to hold on to. The second weakness is procrastination. Many people wait for the perfect time to begin, but perfect timing never arrives. Every day spent waiting makes persistence weaker. Those who succeed act quickly, then adjust along the way. Another weakness is fear of criticism. This one destroys countless dreams. How many people abandon their goals because others laugh at them or call them unrealistic? Think of a young entrepreneur starting a small business. Friends may say, "It will never work." If that person listens, persistence vanishes. But if they keep going, they may eventually prove everyone wrong. There's also the weakness of lack of self-discipline. Persistence requires doing things you don't feel like doing, waking up early to work on your dream, saving money when spending feels easier, exercising when the couch looks inviting. These daily choices demand discipline. Without it, persistence dies. Finally, persistence is weakened by the company we keep. Surround yourself with negative, doubtful people, and their doubts will slowly eat away at your determination. But if you spend time with people who encourage you, their energy strengthens your persistence. That's why Hill recommends creating a mastermind group, a circle of people who share your vision and push you forward when your own strength feels low. Exercise 2 for you. List the 3 biggest obstacles that threaten your persistence. Is it procrastination, fear of criticism, lack of clear goals? Then write one action you can take today to fight each obstacle. Small steps make a big difference.
How to strengthen persistence daily. Hill explains that persistence is built step by step. You don't become persistent overnight. It is developed through habits, through small acts of will repeated every day until persistence becomes part of who you are. The first step is definiteness of purpose. You must know what you want and why you want it. Write it down. Read it every day. Imagine it as if it already exists. The stronger your purpose, the stronger your persistence. The second step is a definite plan. Even an imperfect plan acted upon consistently builds persistence. Many people spend years waiting for the perfect plan, but the truth is, plans improve through action, not theory. The third step is protecting your mind from negativity. This means avoiding people who laugh at your dreams and filling your mind instead with positive influences, books, mentors, supportive friends. Every voice you listen to either strengthens or weakens persistence. The fourth step is forming a supportive alliance. Your journey will not always feel easy. On days when your own energy is low, you need people who will remind you why you started. Success rarely happens alone. It grows in communities that encourage persistence. Think about today's athletes, entrepreneurs, and creators. The ones who succeed are those who build persistence into their routines. They wake up early. They practice daily. They work when no one is watching. Whether it's Serena Williams on the tennis court, Steve Jobs building Apple, or an unknown artist posting videos online, persistence is the same principle at work. Exercise 3 for you. Build a persistence habit. Choose one action you will do every single day for your goal, no matter how small. For example, if your goal is writing a book, write 300 words daily. If your goal is saving money, transfer $5 daily to your savings. If your goal is fitness, do 10 push-ups daily. These may look small, but over time, they train your mind in persistence. Small, daily wins build the muscle of persistence stronger than occasional bursts of effort. Finally, remember this truth. Temporary defeat is not failure. Edison's failed experiments were not failures, but steps toward success. Every obstacle teaches you something. Every delay strengthens your patience. Every defeat sharpens your skills. Those who persist long enough discover that what looked like failure was actually preparation for victory. Persistence, then, is more than a trait. It is a choice. It is the daily decision to keep moving forward, no matter how slow, no matter how hard, no matter how lonely the path feels. So, ask yourself, will you be the one who stops after the first obstacle? Or will you be the one who keeps going until the goal is reached? Napoleon Hill assures us that the second choice belongs to those who achieve greatness, and the power to choose persistence rests in your own hands.
Chapter 9. The Power of the Master Mind. One of the most remarkable truths about success is that no person ever rises to great heights entirely on their own. The history of achievement shows a clear pattern. Every truly successful individual has drawn upon the knowledge, energy, and inspiration of others. This is what Napoleon Hill calls the mastermind. The mastermind is not simply about having friends, contacts, or colleagues. It is about a deliberate alliance between two or more people who work together in harmony toward a definite purpose. When such harmony exists, something extraordinary happens. The combined knowledge, effort, and spirit of the group produce a power that is greater than the sum of its individual parts. Hill describes it as a third mind, an invisible force that emerges when individuals coordinate their thoughts and actions in perfect agreement. Think of a single battery. It has power, but it is limited. Now imagine connecting several batteries together. The output increases many times over, providing more strength than any single battery could deliver on its own. The same principle applies to human minds. When two or more minds come together in complete harmony, they form a mental energy far greater than each could achieve alone. This energy becomes available to every member of the group, fueling ideas, decisions, and opportunities that might otherwise never appear. History provides countless examples. Henry Ford, one of the most successful industrialists in history, was not a man of vast technical education, yet he surrounded himself with men of specialized knowledge who could provide him with advice and guidance. Whenever Ford faced a challenge, he could tap into this collective wisdom. His power did not come solely from his personal knowledge, but from his ability to unite the minds of others into a mastermind alliance. Andrew Carnegie, the steel magnate, openly credited his fortune to his mastermind group. He stated that his success was built not just on his own abilities, but on the talents and loyalty of a carefully chosen team who worked together as one. Thomas Edison, too, had a circle of brilliant associates whose ideas and skills contributed to his countless inventions. None of these great figures achieved success in isolation. All of them relied on the invisible force of the mastermind. The principle is simple but profound. 1 + 1 does not equal 2 when it comes to minds. Instead, 1 + 1 = 3, or even more, because the harmony of collaboration generates a new source of intelligence and power that goes beyond what any single person could access. This is why no one who seeks lasting wealth, influence, or achievement should ignore the importance of building a mastermind group. It is not only useful, it is essential.
The mastermind principle is not limited to business. It applies to every area of life where cooperation is necessary. A strong marriage, for example, can be considered a mastermind alliance between two individuals who share a common vision, values, and purpose. Their combined strength allows them to face challenges, build a future, and support one another in ways that neither could accomplish alone. Similarly, in science, art, or politics, breakthroughs are often the result of groups of people pooling their insights, challenging one another, and refining ideas until they become realities. Yet, for a mastermind alliance to work, one essential ingredient is required: harmony. If there is friction, distrust, or hidden agendas, the alliance will collapse, or worse, create negative results. The harmony of purpose, respect, and confidence among members is what allows the group to unlock its invisible power. Without harmony, the potential energy of the group is wasted in conflict and suspicion. Hill emphasizes that wealth and power naturally come to those who can coordinate efforts in such a way. This is because no single person, no matter how brilliant, has all the knowledge or resources needed to accomplish great achievements. The world is too vast, knowledge is too broad, and opportunities too diverse.
The wise man or woman recognizes their own limitations and compensates for them by drawing upon the strengths of others. Imagine a man who wants to build a business. He may have the idea but lacks financial knowledge. Another person may have the money but no vision. A third may have the technical skill to bring the idea to life. Alone, none of these people can achieve much. But together, when united in a spirit of cooperation and shared purpose, they can create an enterprise that benefits all of them. This is the essence of the mastermind. It is also important to understand that the mastermind principle goes beyond logic. Hill suggests that there is a mysterious element to it, a spiritual force. When two or more minds come into complete harmony, they create a kind of energy field. Thoughts are more easily transferred, ideas seem to arise spontaneously, and decisions come with greater clarity. It is as if an unseen intelligence lends its aid to the group. Many who have participated in such alliances report moments of inspiration and flashes of insight that feel as though they came from beyond themselves. This mysterious quality should not be ignored. Call it intuition, inspiration, or collective consciousness. It is real, and it has been the silent partner in countless successes. Those who understand and respect this power are able to use it, while those who dismiss it as imagination miss out on one of the greatest forces available to humankind. So, if success requires definite plans and organized action, then it also requires the support of others who can contribute their energy and wisdom. No one should attempt to climb the mountain of achievement alone. The way to the top is made smoother, faster, and more certain when traveled with a mastermind group.
The practical question, then, is how does one form a mastermind alliance? The first step is to define your definite major purpose. You must know clearly what you are striving for, because only then can you invite others to join in with clarity of direction. Without a definite aim, the group will lack focus and dissolve into confusion. Next, carefully choose your allies. Do not select people based solely on their friendship or availability. Choose those whose skills, experiences, and attitudes complement your own. Each member should bring something valuable to the alliance, whether it is knowledge, resources, or connections. Equally important, every member must share the spirit of cooperation. A single person filled with negativity or envy can poison the harmony and weaken the group's power. Once formed, the group should meet regularly and maintain a spirit of trust and respect. These meetings need not always be formal. What matters is the exchange of ideas, the encouragement of one another, and the pooling of knowledge toward the shared purpose. Over time, the group becomes more than just a circle of individuals. It becomes a source of power, inspiration, and resilience. Hill warns against underestimating this principle. Many people fail to achieve success because they insist on acting alone. They believe that independence means doing everything by themselves. But in truth, independence often leads to isolation and limitation. The greatest achievements of mankind, whether in business, science, art, or social progress, have always been the result of cooperative effort. The individual who understands this law places themselves in a position to achieve results that would be impossible otherwise. Ultimately, the mastermind principle teaches us two profound truths. First, no one succeeds without the help of others. Second, when minds join together in harmony, they create a power that is beyond ordinary human capability. It is this power that has built industries, toppled obstacles, and produced the innovations that shape our world. The lesson is clear. Choose your allies wisely, keep harmony as your foundation, and direct your combined energy toward a definite purpose. Do this, and you will have at your command a power that can carry you to any height you desire. This is the power of the mastermind.
Chapter 10. Sexuality, the mystery of sex transmutation. Among all the forces that move human beings to act, the desire for sex stands at the very top. Napoleon Hill explains that no other human drive is as powerful or as persistent as this one. It has been present since the beginning of time, and it continues to shape lives, societies, and even history. When it is properly understood and directed, this energy can be turned into something far more than physical expression. It can become the driving force behind genius, great achievement, and wealth. Sex desire is nature's greatest urge. It is the mechanism by which life itself is carried forward. Yet, if one studies history, it becomes clear that those who reached extraordinary heights of success often had another thing in common. They learned to channel their sexual energy into creativity, leadership, art, invention, or business. This process is what Hill calls sex transmutation. The word transmute simply means to change, to transfer from one form to another. Just as steam, when directed through a turbine, can produce electricity, the energy of sex, when redirected, can become the very fuel of imagination and productivity. When left uncontrolled, it may cause distraction, weakness, and wasted opportunities. But when harnessed and channeled, it becomes one of the greatest resources available to mankind. Hill stresses that the most successful people in every field are, without exception, highly sexed individuals. Their drive, magnetism, and creative genius are magnified by their ability to convert sexual energy into something higher than just physical gratification. The mystery of sex transmutation lies not in suppressing or ignoring the sexual urge, but in transforming it into constructive channels. Think for a moment about artists, musicians, poets, inventors, or great leaders. Their work often carries a certain intensity, a force that feels larger than life. Much of this can be traced back to the energy of sex being redirected. Instead of spending this energy recklessly, they used it to create. That is why Hill says that sexual energy is the strongest of all stimuli to action. It can lift ordinary individuals to extraordinary achievement when handled wisely.
Hill identifies that there are 10 major mind stimulants, things that can stir up the mind and push people toward higher action. Among these, the most powerful are 1. The desire for sex expression, 2. Love, 3. A burning desire for fame, power, or money, 4. Music, 5. A strong friendship or mastermind alliance, 6. Mutual suffering or shared struggle, 7. Autosuggestion, 8. Fear, 9. Narcotics or alcohol, and 10. Enthusiasm. Of these 10, sex stands above all. It is stronger than hunger, thirst, or even the instinct to fight. But here lies the challenge. Because it is so powerful, it can either destroy or elevate a person. Many men and women have ruined careers, reputations, and families by failing to control their sexual energy. On the other hand, those who redirect it often become leaders, creators, and innovators. Hill explains that the period between the ages of 40 and 60 is often the most productive in a person's life. Why? Because by this stage, the reckless physical expression of sex often declines, but the energy of sex can still be transmuted into ambition, creativity, and achievement. Many of the world's great works, whether in art, science, or business, were produced by people during this age span. This is when they learned to redirect sexual energy into channels that produced lasting results. It is also worth noting that many men who achieve greatness do so after they marry the right woman. The reason is simple.
A supportive relationship often transforms sexual energy into inspiration and stability. A man in love, guided by a deep relationship, is often more motivated, more focused, and more creative. Hill makes it clear that love, sex, and romance form a trinity of great power. Alone, sex is just a physical act, but when combined with love and romance, it becomes an unstoppable source of genius and achievement. Love acts as the spiritual companion to sex, lifting it to something noble and beautiful. Romance gives it charm and refinement. Together, these three forces can produce balance, happiness, and creativity. History is filled with examples of men who reached greatness under the inspiration of love and romance. Remove that influence, and often their success fades away.
The mystery of sex transmutation, then, is this: to learn to transform one's sexual energy into creativity, imagination, persistence, and ambition. It is about discipline, not denial. It is about redirection, not repression. Hill cautions against trying to suppress the sexual urge entirely, because that only leads to frustration and imbalance. Instead, he teaches that we must consciously channel that power toward higher purposes. This explains why highly sexed individuals often have great charm, magnetism, and influence over others. The energy radiates from them in the form of enthusiasm, passion, and vitality. People are naturally drawn to them, even if they do not fully understand why. It is this same energy, refined and guided, that fuels leadership and personal magnetism. A person who learns the art of sex transmutation will find that their thoughts become sharper, their imagination more active, and their decisions more powerful. They will be able to put more intensity into their work, more feeling into their words, and more persistence into their goals. That is why Hill says that this is one of the great secrets of achievement. In the final analysis, sex is not merely a physical act, but a vast reservoir of energy. It is nature's way of ensuring the continuation of life. But nature also gives us the choice to use this energy for more than just reproduction. By learning to redirect it, one can fuel ambition, genius, and lasting success. Thus, the mystery of sex transmutation is not a strange or mystical idea. It is a practical truth. The greatest achievements in history often carry with them the unseen power of sexual energy, refined and lifted to higher levels. To ignore this fact is to misunderstand one of the most important forces in human life. To master it is to hold in your hands one of the keys to greatness.
Chapter 11. The Subconscious Mind. The subconscious mind is like a fertile garden. Whatever seeds you plant into it, whether good or bad, helpful or harmful, will eventually grow and produce fruit. Napoleon Hill describes the subconscious as the connecting link between the conscious mind, where we make decisions, and the infinite intelligence, the universal source of power and inspiration. It is always awake, always at work, whether we are aware of it or not. Every thought you allow to dominate your mind eventually sinks into the subconscious. It does not question whether the thought is positive or negative, whether it will serve you or destroy you. The subconscious simply takes in what it is given and then sets about to translate it into reality through actions, habits, and even circumstances. This is why guarding our thoughts is essential. If we repeatedly allow fear, doubt, and worry to occupy our conscious mind, then those emotions will take root in the subconscious, and soon they will be expressed in our behaviors and results. On the other hand, if we deliberately choose to dwell on success, abundance, courage, and confidence, then those qualities will also find their way into the subconscious. Over time, they shape the way we speak, the way we act, and ultimately, the life we create. The subconscious works tirelessly, and it cannot be stopped. The only question is, What are you feeding it? Hill emphasizes that the subconscious is influenced most strongly by our emotions. It is not enough to simply think a thought, it must be charged with feeling. A wish without emotion is weak, but a desire filled with enthusiasm, faith, and persistence carries power. This is why affirmations and autosuggestions work best when repeated with passion, not just mechanically. The subconscious responds most directly to emotions like faith, love, and desire. These emotions fuel it with creative energy.
At the same time, the negative emotions, fear, jealousy, hatred, revenge, anger, can just as easily dominate if we are careless. The subconscious mind cannot filter. It is our responsibility to decide which emotions and thoughts we allow to take root. Once an idea enters with feeling, it will eventually manifest outwardly. This is why Hill calls the subconscious the intermediary between our conscious plans and the infinite intelligence. The creative power of the universe cannot act directly on our conscious reasoning. Instead, it communicates through impressions and ideas planted in the subconscious. When we repeatedly affirm our definite chief aim, filled with emotion and backed by faith, the subconscious accepts it as a command. It then works day and night to align our actions, habits, and environment with that aim. Consider how often great ideas appear unexpectedly, in dreams, sudden hunches, or flashes of inspiration. This is the subconscious mind in action. It has been working silently in the background, making connections we were not aware of, and then presenting them to us in moments of insight. Many of the world's greatest discoveries, works of art, and inventions have come in exactly this way. The conscious mind could not reason them out directly, but the subconscious served as the bridge to infinite intelligence. Hill insists that we can direct this process intentionally, by daily autosuggestion, by repetition of affirmations charged with belief. We plant the seeds of our desires into the subconscious. Over time, the subconscious accepts these commands as truth and begins to guide us toward their realization. Whether we like it or not, this process is happening continuously. The only choice we truly have is whether we will take control of it or leave it to chance.
To understand the power of the subconscious mind, Hill draws attention to its constant operation. Even while you sleep, it is awake, translating your dominant thoughts into their physical equivalent. This is why guarding our mental diet is as important as guarding our physical diet. You would never feed your body with poison deliberately, yet many people feed their minds with the poison of fear, doubt, and failure without realizing the consequences. The subconscious is most easily influenced during two states, just before sleep and just after waking. At these moments, the conscious mind is relaxed, and suggestions pass more easily into the deeper levels of thought. This is why Hill recommends repeating affirmations or reviewing your definite chief aim during those times. If you go to sleep thinking of your goal with emotion, the subconscious continues working on it throughout the night, bringing forth ideas, opportunities, and even dreams that align with your desire. Think of the subconscious as the soil. Whatever seed you plant in it, good or bad, will grow. If you do not deliberately plant useful seeds, weeds will take root by default. Our environment, conversations, and even casual entertainment can plant thoughts in the subconscious if we are not vigilant. This is why surrounding yourself with positive influences, uplifting people, and success-oriented environments matters so much. You are constantly programming your subconscious, whether you mean to or not. Hill identifies 7 major positive emotions that serve as powerful allies to influence the subconscious. Number 1 is desire. Number 2
is faith. Number 3 is love. Number 4 is sex. Number 5 is enthusiasm. Number 6 is romance. Number 7 is hope. These emotions, when attached to our affirmations and goals, give them life. A cold, emotionless statement like, "I will be successful," has little power. But when spoken with burning desire, filled with conviction and love for the possibilities of life, the subconscious receives it as a genuine command.
At the same time, Hill warns us about the 7 major negative emotions which can destroy progress if left unchecked. 1. Fear. 2. Jealousy. 3. Hatred. 4. Revenge. 5. Greed. 6. Superstition. 7. Anger. These emotions can easily dominate if we are not deliberate. For example, fear is one of the most destructive influences. It paralyzes the conscious mind, then seeps into the subconscious, creating exactly the results we were afraid of. Hatred and jealousy poison our thoughts, causing the subconscious to attract circumstances that confirm and magnify those feelings. The key, Hill explains, is to deliberately feed the subconscious with positive emotions until they become dominant. This requires effort at first, because most people have allowed negative emotions to rule by habit. But with repetition, we can retrain the subconscious, just as we can train the body. Autosuggestion, visualization, and affirmations are the tools. When done consistently, the subconscious begins to replace fear with faith, doubt with hope, and hesitation with confidence. The subconscious is not only powerful in shaping our mental outlook, it also influences the body. Countless examples show how people's physical health is affected by their dominant emotions and beliefs. Stress and fear weaken the body, while joy and confidence strengthen it. Placebos work because the subconscious believes in the treatment, even if it is inactive. This shows clearly that the subconscious does not only influence external results, but also our very biology. If the subconscious can affect the body so strongly, imagine what it can do with your financial destiny, your career, your relationships, and your dreams. The process is always the same. What you impress upon it repeatedly, with feeling, will sooner or later express itself in your life.
To use the subconscious mind effectively, Hill stresses the importance of clarity and persistence. Vague wishes will not work. The subconscious requires a definite plan, expressed as a clear desire. This is why writing down your definite chief aim and reviewing it daily is so important. Each repetition impresses the idea deeper into the subconscious. Over time, this creates an unshakable belief that your goal is certain to be achieved. The subconscious then works in harmony with infinite intelligence to bring forth opportunities, ideas, and circumstances. Often, these will appear as coincidences or lucky breaks, but they are simply the natural results of focused subconscious effort. The person who feeds their mind with a clear, burning desire will notice possibilities that others overlook. Their subconscious acts like a magnet, drawing to them the people, resources, and conditions necessary for success. This is why Hill insists that the subconscious is the gateway to infinite intelligence. The conscious mind can reason and analyze, but it is limited. True creative insight, the kind that leads to great breakthroughs, flows through the subconscious. When you train it to hold your definite desire, backed by emotion, it becomes your silent partner in creation. Hill also reminds us that control over the subconscious requires self-discipline. You cannot fill it with negative emotions all day long and then expect a few minutes of positive affirmation to outweigh them. Consistency is crucial. You must guard your thoughts constantly, just as you would protect a valuable treasure. The mind is your most valuable asset, and the subconscious is its most powerful tool. One of the best ways to maintain this control is through habit. If you build the habit of daily gratitude, daily review of your chief aim, and daily positive autosuggestion, then the subconscious will automatically align with success. Over time, this becomes effortless because the subconscious will be saturated with positive patterns. It is also important to realize that the subconscious communicates most effectively through images and emotions. This is why visualization is so powerful. When you picture your goal vividly, with detail and excitement, the subconscious begins to treat it as real. It adjusts your behavior and perceptions accordingly, nudging you toward actions that make the vision a reality. The more real the image feels, the more quickly the subconscious acts on it. At the heart of it, Hill's message is simple. Your subconscious is the channel through which infinite intelligence can guide you. If you do not direct it, it will be directed by outside influences, often negative ones. But if you master it, you hold in your hands the secret to transformation. By planting clear desires, nurturing them with faith and emotion, and repeating them until they become fixed, you create an unstoppable force within yourself. The subconscious mind does not rest, does not sleep, and does not argue. It accepts what it is given and turns it into reality. So the responsibility rests with us to choose carefully, to be deliberate, and to consistently feed it the kind of thoughts that lead to abundance, happiness, and success. Hill teaches that mastery of the subconscious mind is mastery of life itself. For it is through this invisible, tireless servant that all desires, when properly planted, grow into their physical form. If you learn to harness this power, there is truly no limit to what you can achieve.
Chapter 12. The Brain. The human brain is one of the most powerful tools ever known. Napoleon Hill describes it as a kind of broadcasting and receiving station for thought. He suggests that every human brain can both send out and pick up vibrations of thought, much like a radio station that transmits signals into space and receives them again. This idea may sound abstract, but it is deeply practical when we think about how thoughts, ideas, and emotions influence our daily lives and the people around us. Our brain is not simply an organ for processing information. It is an engine of creation. The way we think determines the kind of results we attract. If the brain is continually filled with thoughts of poverty, fear, or doubt, then it becomes tuned to those vibrations. In contrast, when it is filled with confidence, desire, and determination, it tunes itself to signals of success. Hill reminds us that the brain operates much like a magnet, pulling toward itself the conditions that match the dominant thoughts we allow to take root. This is why he emphasizes the importance of controlling one's mental environment. Thoughts are not isolated. They spread and influence others just as they are influenced by others. Every individual has experienced the strange but undeniable reality of picking up another person's mood or energy without a single word spoken. This phenomenon illustrates the truth that thought is energy, and the brain is the medium through which that energy flows.
The brain also has the capacity to magnify its power when combined with others. This is seen in the concept of the mastermind, which Hill discussed earlier. When two or more people come together in harmony with a definite purpose, their combined brains create an energy greater than the sum of the parts. Just as batteries connected together generate more electricity, minds linked together generate stronger vibrations of thought. This explains why teams,
Partnerships and alliances often produce extraordinary results that an individual alone might never achieve. What makes the brain so remarkable is its ability to pick up on these thought frequencies from others. Sometimes we call it intuition. Sometimes we call it gut instinct. But it is often the result of the brain receiving vibrations unconsciously. Just as a radio receiver must be finely tuned to the right frequency, so too must the brain be trained to receive the kinds of thoughts that lead to success. This requires discipline, focus, and above all, a definite major purpose. Without a strong and guiding purpose, the brain drifts and tunes into random or even harmful vibrations. But with a purpose, it becomes highly selective, capturing only what helps it achieve its aim. At the core of this is the principle of desire. A burning desire sets the brain into motion, focusing its immense energy on ways to bring that desire into reality. It sharpens awareness, awakens dormant abilities, and opens the individual to ideas and inspirations that otherwise would go unnoticed. In this way, the brain acts not only as a station of thought, but as a magnet for opportunities.
Hill also connects the brain to the subconscious mind and the sixth sense, which he explains in later chapters. The subconscious mind is like fertile soil that accepts whatever thoughts are planted in it, whether positive or negative. The brain is the instrument through which these thoughts are broadcast outward and received inward. Together they form a cycle. What we think, we project. What we project, we attract. And what we attract, we eventually act upon. Science has shown that the brain operates through the vibration of energy. Every emotion, every thought carries its own frequency. Strong emotions, such as faith, love, or enthusiasm, create higher, more powerful vibrations than emotions like fear or anger. These high vibrations not only strengthen the individual's mental broadcast, but also make it easier for other minds to pick up the signal. This is why enthusiasm is contagious, why confidence inspires others, and why leadership often depends less on commands and more on the emotional tone the leader sets. Consider the example of an inventor. When a person intensely desires to create something new, their brain becomes a receiver tuned to ideas and inspirations that help them. It may seem like flashes of genius appear out of nowhere, but in truth, the brain is catching signals that exist in the great storehouse of infinite intelligence. These signals are invisible, yet they shape the greatest advances of civilization. Edison, Bell, and countless others reported that ideas often came to them suddenly, as though delivered from a source beyond themselves. Hill believed that this was no accident, but the brain performing its function as a receiver. The same principle applies to ordinary success in business, careers, or relationships. The individual who trains his brain to vibrate with confidence, faith, and clear intention is far more likely to attract supportive people, creative ideas, and favorable circumstances. In contrast, one who allows fear or doubt to dominate will find themselves surrounded by limitations and difficulties. The brain is neutral. It will broadcast and attract whatever is impressed upon it most strongly. It is important, therefore, to practice autosuggestion, the deliberate repetition of positive thoughts and affirmations. Autosuggestion influences the subconscious mind, which then directs the brain to broadcast corresponding vibrations. Repeated often enough, these thoughts take on a life of their own, shaping the individual's destiny. In other words, what you dwell upon consistently becomes part of the energy you transmit, and what you transmit eventually returns to you. Hill also reminds us that the greatest leaders throughout history have mastered this principle. They learned to use their brains not only for reasoning, but also as instruments of influence.
Their thoughts and emotions radiated powerfully enough to move entire nations. While not everyone will lead nations, everyone can lead their own life more effectively by consciously choosing the mental vibrations they release.
The brain is not only powerful, but also highly sensitive. It is constantly absorbing impressions from the environment, often without conscious awareness. This is why the people we associate with, the books we read, the words we speak, and even the environment we live in matter greatly. All these inputs shape the vibration of our brain. Surrounding ourselves with negativity tunes our brain to negative frequencies, while surrounding ourselves with positivity strengthens our signal for success. Napoleon Hill insists that to truly use the brain as an instrument of success, we must learn to guard it carefully. This does not mean avoiding challenges or reality. Rather, it means choosing the influences that align with our definite purpose. Just as a radio operator chooses the station to listen to, we must choose the thoughts and influences we allow into our minds. Perhaps the most fascinating insight Hill offers is that the brain may be able to tap into what he calls infinite intelligence. This is a universal store of ideas, solutions, and inspiration, available to anyone who has prepared their mind to receive it. Many great minds in history claimed that their breakthroughs came not from logical reasoning alone, but from sudden flashes of insight. Hill believed this was evidence of the brain connecting to a higher source of knowledge. The disciplined mind, fueled by desire and faith, is capable of such connection.
The practical lesson is clear. If we wish to succeed, we must treat our brain as both a transmitter and a receiver. We must deliberately fill it with thoughts of success, feed it with desire, and train it through repetition. At the same time, we must open ourselves to receiving ideas, inspirations, and opportunities that come from both other minds and infinite intelligence. Success is not created by chance. It is built by tuning the brain to the right frequency and keeping it there through persistence. Ultimately, the brain is the link between the invisible and the visible, between thought and reality. It is the means through which desire becomes form, through which imagination becomes invention, and through which determination becomes achievement. If we learn to master this instrument, we gain access to possibilities far greater than we might ever imagine. Hill closes this lesson by emphasizing once again that success is not the product of luck or circumstances. It is the result of deliberate mental control. The brain, when properly directed, becomes the key to riches, to achievement, and to a life shaped by one's own conscious design.
Chapter 13. The Sixth Sense. The journey through the principles of success brings us now to one of the most mysterious yet most powerful faculties of the human mind, the sixth sense. Napoleon Hill refers to it as the door to the temple of wisdom. While the other principles can be studied, practiced, and developed with conscious effort, the sixth sense seems to belong to another dimension, one that blends intuition, imagination, and a higher level of perception. The sixth sense is not a faculty you can touch, see, or easily explain with logic. It is not something you can purchase, nor something that appears simply because you desire it. Instead, it emerges gradually after you have mastered and applied the previous principles of success: desire, faith, autosuggestion, specialized knowledge, imagination, organized planning, decision, persistence, the power of the mastermind, and the conscious use of both the subconscious and the brain. Once these principles are woven into your life, the sixth sense becomes active. Think of it as a kind of guardian angel,
an inner voice or flash of insight that guides you when no amount of reasoning could give you the answer. It often comes suddenly, without warning, and with such clarity that you feel compelled to trust it. Many of the world's most successful leaders, inventors, and creators have credited their achievements to moments of inspiration that could not be explained through ordinary thought. Hill suggests that the sixth sense is the medium through which infinite intelligence communicates with us. Infinite intelligence, as he describes throughout the book, is that universal source of knowledge, power, and creativity that transcends human understanding. We cannot command it, but we can open ourselves to it. When we do, ideas, plans, warnings, and inspirations flow into our minds at the exact time we need them. The sixth sense often acts as a silent partner, guiding us away from danger, pointing us toward opportunity, and urging us to act when hesitation would mean failure. But it is not something that can be explained mechanically. Instead, it is developed through practice, awareness, and trust in your own mind's connection to infinite intelligence. In many ways, the sixth sense is like a muscle. If ignored, it remains weak, barely noticeable. But as you continue applying the other principles, focusing your desires, feeding your subconscious mind with faith and positive thoughts, and surrounding yourself with the energy of like-minded people, it begins to stir. Over time, you begin to notice moments when a quiet thought tells you what to do, and more often than not, that thought proves correct. This is not superstition. It is not magic. It is the natural result of a mind that is trained, disciplined, and attuned to the creative forces of the universe. Hill emphasizes that the sixth sense does not become active until the other principles have been absorbed. That is why this chapter appears near the end of his philosophy. Only once the groundwork is laid can the higher faculty reveal itself.
To illustrate the power of the sixth sense, Napoleon Hill shares his own personal experiences. He describes how he built what he calls an imaginary council, a mental meeting room where he would regularly consult with the greatest minds in history. These were not real meetings, of course, but vivid exercises of imagination, so powerful that the lessons and inspirations he received felt real. In his imaginary council, he invited men like Abraham Lincoln, Thomas Edison, Henry Ford, Andrew Carnegie, Napoleon Bonaparte, and many others. He would visualize them sitting around a table, each with their unique personality and perspective, ready to offer advice on whatever problem he faced. At first, this was a creative exercise to sharpen his thinking. But over time, something extraordinary began to happen. The characters came alive in his imagination. They began to offer him insights, warnings, and suggestions that he himself had not consciously thought of. This was the sixth sense at work. His mind, opened by faith, desire, and practice, became a channel through which infinite intelligence could speak. The wisdom he received in these imaginary councils often guided his decisions in ways he could not explain logically. He came to trust it, and in doing so, he found that his intuition was correct far more often than it was wrong. Hill is careful to point out that such exercises are not meant to replace action, study, or planning. The sixth sense is not a substitute for hard work. Instead, it is a powerful ally that can make your work more effective, more timely, and more aligned with your true purpose. When properly developed, it can save you from costly mistakes and lead you toward opportunities that logic alone could never have revealed. Many of the world's great leaders have reported similar experiences. Napoleon Bonaparte often spoke of a guiding force that helped him make rapid decisions in battle. Thomas Edison admitted that many of his greatest inventions came not from direct reasoning, but from flashes of inspiration. Henry Ford trusted his hunches so deeply that he often acted on them against the advice of his closest associates. And those decisions made him one of the most successful industrialists of all time. This is not coincidence. The sixth sense is a universal faculty available to anyone who develops it.
It whispers in the quiet of the night, it flashes during moments of deep focus, and it reveals itself when you least expect it. But it requires patience, openness, and trust. It is worth noting that fear and negativity block the sixth sense. When your mind is filled with doubt, worry, or anger, the channel to infinite intelligence closes. Instead of receiving guidance, you become trapped in confusion. This is why mastering fear, which Hill discusses earlier, is essential. A mind clouded by fear cannot access the higher levels of perception, but a mind filled with faith and purpose becomes receptive.
At its core, the sixth sense is the reward for disciplined thought. It is the final stage of mastery, the crowning achievement of applying all other principles. You do not reach it by accident, nor can you rush it. It arrives naturally once you have prepared the mind as a fertile ground. Hill urges the reader not to dismiss this faculty simply because it cannot be explained scientifically. The truth is, many of the greatest discoveries, inventions, and achievements in history began with a hunch, an intuition, or a dream that seemed impossible at the time. The sixth sense is not opposed to science. Rather, it complements it by revealing possibilities before the facts are fully known. Science itself progresses through flashes of insight, later confirmed through method and evidence. The sixth sense also serves as a protection. Hill believed that infinite intelligence often warns us of danger through sudden feelings, premonitions, or strong inner resistance. Many people can recall moments when they felt urged not to take a certain path, meet a certain person, or make a certain decision, and later discovered that their intuition had saved them from harm. The more we listen to this faculty, the more we can rely on it. However, Hill warns against confusing blind impulse with true intuition. The sixth sense does not justify reckless decisions. It does not excuse laziness or wishful thinking. True intuition is calm, clear, and persistent. It aligns with the principles of desire, faith, and organized action. It is the voice that whispers when logic falls silent, not the noise of untrained emotion. As you advance in developing this faculty, you begin to sense that you are not alone in your journey. You feel connected to a greater intelligence, a vast source of wisdom that is always available if you are open to it. This realization can bring immense confidence. You no longer fear uncertainty because you know guidance will come when it is needed. Hill closes this chapter by reminding us that the sixth sense is not just about achieving wealth. Its greater purpose is to connect us with wisdom and harmony. It allows us to live not only more successfully, but more meaningfully. The material rewards are important, but the deeper reward is the sense of being guided by a higher hand. In conclusion, the sixth sense is the final step in the philosophy of success. It is the unseen hand that directs, the quiet voice that warns, the sudden idea that transforms. It cannot be forced, but it can be cultivated. By mastering the earlier principles, you prepare the ground for this faculty to bloom. And once it does, it becomes the most valuable ally you will ever have in the pursuit of success.
The Six Ghosts of Fear, the Enemies of Success. Before you begin applying the 13 principles of success, it's important to pause and look inward. Napoleon Hill reminds us that no matter how strong your desire, how vivid your imagination, or how detailed your plan may be, there are forces within you that can quietly work against your progress. These are not outside enemies. They are internal, invisible, and often so subtle that you don't even notice them until they've already held you back. He calls them the six ghosts of fear. They are fear of poverty, fear of criticism, fear of ill health,
fear of loss of love, fear of old age, and fear of death. Each of these fears has destroyed more dreams than failure itself. They creep into the mind slowly like shadows until they become beliefs. Once you accept them as truth, they turn into doubt and hesitation. And hesitation, as Hill explains, is one of the biggest reasons people never reach their goals. Let's look at them one by one. Fear of poverty. This is the most destructive of all fears. It paralyzes ambition, kills self-reliance, and makes people accept a life of limitation. When you fear poverty, you become afraid to take risks. You hold back from opportunities because you are worried about losing what little you already have. This fear shows up as indecision, doubt, and constant worry about money. Fear of criticism. Many people never act on their ideas simply because they fear what others will say. They worry about ridicule, disapproval, or being judged. Fear of criticism makes you conform to society's expectations instead of following your own path. It steals individuality and originality. It forces you to live someone else's life instead of your own. Fear of ill health. Good health is wealth, but the fear of losing it can dominate the mind. Some people are so focused on disease that they practically invite it into their lives. Constant worry about sickness weakens the body and mind. Hill explains that this fear often comes from overexposure to negative news, unverified medical talk, or unhealthy imagination. Fear of loss of love. This fear arises from jealousy, suspicion, and insecurity. It makes people doubt themselves and others. When you are too afraid of losing love, you may try to control or cling to relationships in ways that actually destroy them. It creates unnecessary emotional pain and prevents peace of mind.
5. Fear of old age. Aging is natural, but many people live in dread of it. They believe that as youth fades, so do opportunity, power, and joy. This fear is tied closely to the fear of poverty, since people worry about becoming dependent or unable to provide for themselves. Fear of old age robs you of enjoying the present and blinds you to the wisdom and strength that maturity can bring. 6. Fear of death. This is the most universal fear, and for many, the most difficult to overcome. It comes from the uncertainty of what lies beyond life. Instead of living fully, people avoid risks and possibilities because they are haunted by the thought of death. This fear limits action and steals peace of mind. How these fears control you. The 6 ghosts of fear do not always appear openly. They hide in the form of indecision, doubt, and worry. These 3, indecision, doubt, and worry, are the footsteps of fear. They combine to create hesitation, procrastination, and eventually failure. If you want to apply the 13 principles of success, you must first recognize these fears in your own life. Ask yourself honestly, which of these fears is strongest in me? Do I let fear of poverty keep me from taking financial risks? Do I stay quiet about my ideas because I fear criticism? Do I let worry consume my health, relationships, or future? Until you face these questions, the principles cannot work for you. Breaking free from fear. Hill makes it clear fear is nothing more than a state of mind. And since the mind can be controlled, fear can be mastered. The first step is awareness. Recognize when fear is influencing your decisions. The second step is courage. Take action in spite of fear. And the third step is faith. Faith in yourself, faith in your ability, and faith that the universe rewards persistence. Only when you master these 6 ghosts of fear can you fully unlock the power of the 13 principles. If fear is not dealt with, no amount of knowledge or planning will help. But once fear is conquered, the path ahead becomes clear.
Final thoughts. As we close this chapter, remember, knowledge alone doesn't create change. It's the action you take, the choices you make, and the persistence you show every single day that shape your future. What you've just listened to is more than information. It's a guide, a reminder that you have the power to design the life you want. So pause for a moment. Reflect on what stood out to you most. Ask yourself, how can I apply this lesson today? Because even the smallest step in the right direction can create a ripple of lasting change. Thank you for listening to this audiobook summary. If you found value in it and want more powerful insights like this, make sure to subscribe and stay connected. Your journey to growth and success has only just begun.